Chapter 9:12. Jiang Tianhao's mind was filled with nothing but lust. He could not listen to anything and just repeated his actions mechanically. The two people who were pinned down by him were almost suffocating. Yi Zixu looked at the ceiling with tears in her eyes. She was on the verge of a breakdown. Her hands groped around, trying to find something to drive Jin Mingyao and Jiang Tianhao away. Finally, she found a fruit knife on the bedside table. She said, "Yihan, take me away." She raised the knife and stabbed it into the back of the man on top of her. 1 stab, 2 stab, 3 stab. Fresh blood dyed her cheeks and eyes red. She laughed madly, and her laughter was terrifying in the midst of the lewd atmosphere. 3 badly mutilated bodies were lying haphazardly on the messy bed. Blood soaked the white sheets, and the air was filled with a thick smell of blood. Yi Zixu pushed Jin Mingyao's body away and got up with lifeless eyes. She was still holding the knife in her hand. She slowly got off the bed and walked step by step out of the room filled with the smell of death. A minute later, the hotel's cleaning staff covered her mouth and screamed in horror. She saw a naked woman covered in blood. She was holding a bloody fruit knife in her hand. Her hair was disheveled as she walked down the corridor. Every step she took, she left a bloody footprint on the corridor carpet. "Ah! Help! Someone's killing me!" The staff threw down the cart and ran away in panic. Her terrified screams echoed throughout the hotel. The hotel lobby manager quickly called the police and brought 2 security guards to track Yi Zixu down. Unexpectedly, they finally found her on the rooftop. She was like a walking corpse, without any thoughts or emotions. No matter what others said, she didn't react at all. Her unfocused eyes stared blankly in front of her as she walked step by step towards the guardrail. She was like a puppet being led by a string. She slowly climbed up the high railing. As long as her body leaned forward, she would be crushed to pieces. "Miss, that's too dangerous. Please don't get agitated." The police rushed over and surrounded the hotel building. A few members of the team quickly climbed up to the roof and stood about 7 or 8 meters away from Yi Zixu, trying to persuade her to come down from the railing. Yi Zixu felt goosebumps all over her body. It was also at this moment that her dazed mind suddenly woke up. She shivered. She saw tall buildings and a bottomless abyss. Her nose smelled the thick smell of blood. She suddenly screamed in horror and threw away the dagger in her hand. Her other hand firmly grabbed the railing. She didn't want to die. She couldn't die. The policeman noticed the change in her mood and gently advised her, "You're still young, and you still have a long way to go. No matter what happens, you can always start over. Think about your family, they're all worried about you." Yes, she was still young. She still had a long way to go. She didn't want to ruin her life because of 2 scumbags. Her uncle was going to be a high-ranking official in Ying City. Even if she had to kill those scumbags, he would still save her. The cold wind continued to blow, and she was shivering from the cold. Suddenly, she burst into tears. Her cries were hysterical, and it was so desperate that it made people's expressions change. The police captain hurriedly gave a look, and a policewoman quietly went forward. She hugged her waist and carried her down from the railing. Then, a member of the team brought a blanket and wrapped Yi Zixu's body. Then, a pair of handcuffs were placed on her wrists. The policewoman who saved her held her arm and said, "Miss, you're suspected of murder. Please come with us." In this murder case, one victim was dead and the other was injured. The deceased was Jin Mingyao. His father, Jin Yahue, was the second in command of Ying City. The seriously injured person was Jiang Tianhao. He was the ex-husband of the murderer. The murderer was the second miss of the G group. She also had an uncle who was a high-ranking official in Hanqing. Just based on the identities of these 3 people, this case was very eye-catching. It caused a huge reaction in society. Jin Yahue had a son at an old age. He only had 1 son, and that was why he spoiled him so much. In the past, he didn't care about his son's private life. He thought that it wasn't a big deal for a man to be dissolute. He didn't expect that his son would die in the hands of a woman one day. If he had known that this day would come, he would have restrained his son. But it was too late for regrets now. Jin Yahue seemed to have aged more than 10 years overnight. When he faced the media, he only said one sentence, "A life for a life. I hope that the murderer will be punished by the law." This sentence showed that he wanted to punish Yi Zixu severely. It also showed that he wanted to go against Lu Jianfeng. One was the second in command of Ing City, while the other was the future leader of Ing City. If the two of them were to fight, who would win and who would lose? Ing City's media received instructions from the higher-ups to hide part of the truth of the murder case. They announced to the public that Jin Mingyao and Yi Zissou were a couple. Unexpectedly, Yi Zissou betrayed Jin Mingyao and had an affair with her ex-husband. Jin Mingyao was flustered and exasperated. He went to the hotel to catch them in the act. Yi Zissou flew into a rage out of humiliation. She picked up a fruit knife and killed Jin Mingyao. She even injured Jiang Tianhao by accident. According to them, Yi Zissou was guilty of intentional murder. What a load of nonsense. When Chen Tingfang saw this false news, she slammed the newspaper on the table. She lifted her head to look at the man sitting opposite her and said angrily, "Cousin, the media is spouting nonsense. Yesterday, I went to the detention center to visit Zissou. She told me that Jin Mingyao and Jiang Tianhao were in cahoots and wanted to rape her. She picked up the fruit knife out of self-defense. Cousin, I beg you, please help Zissou. Otherwise, she will be sentenced to death." As she spoke, tears fell from Chen Tingfang's eyes. She remembered that when she saw her daughter yesterday, her daughter cried and begged for her forgiveness. She said that she knew she was wrong. Her daughter even knelt down and kowtowed to her. Even though many bad things had happened between them in the past, her daughter was still a piece of flesh that fell from her womb. How could she not feel heartache? Chen Tingfang wiped her tears sadly. She was sad about her daughter's situation. Lu Jianfeng sighed. I watched Zissou grow up. How could I bear to see her suffer? But Tingfang, you know that I haven't received my transfer order yet. If something goes wrong, this promotion will be ruined. Forget about saving Zissou. I won't even be able to protect myself. So, I can't openly go against Jin Yahui. I have to find evidence of Jin Mingyao's rape. Chen Tingfang's heart was anxious and in pain. Suddenly, something flashed through her mind. She shouted, Jiang Tianhao. Yes, as long as Jiang Tianhao wakes up, we can prove that Zissou was over-defensive. There was a big difference between over-defensive death and intentional murder when it came to sentencing. First of all, they had to save Yi Zissou's life. Lu Jianfeng frowned. You're right. Jiang Tianhao is a strong witness. The problem is that Jiang Tianhao is Jin Mingyao's accomplice. He has a grudge against Yi Zissou. He's very likely to stand on Jin Yahui's side and testify against Zissou for intentional murder. Chen Tingfang said, we can't care about that now. First, we have to save Jiang Tianhao. If he doesn't wake up, we won't have any hope left. Jiang Tianhao had been stabbed 3 times by Yi Zissou. One was in the lung, and the other 2 were in the waist. His lungs had severely shrunk, and he was still unconscious. The police had transferred him to the intensive care unit of the People's Hospital. Outside the ward, there were 2 policemen standing guard, worried that an accident might happen. Lu Jianfeng thought for a moment and said, I know a few people in the police force. I'll contact them first and ask them to check the hotel carefully to see if there are any clues that we missed. Cousin, I'll leave the police to you. Cousin, I want to go to the hospital to check on Jiang Tianhao's condition. Even if Jiang Tianhao hadn't woken up yet, it was good to build a good relationship with his mother first. Okay, go ahead. Be careful on the road. If anything happens, contact me immediately. After Chen Tingfang left, Lu Jianfeng dialed a number. Xiao Wang, how are you? I'm old Lu. Oh, it's brother Lu. Long time no see. How have you been? Little Wang, I'm calling you today to talk about this. I have a niece who got into some trouble. Lu Jianfeng briefly explained the situation and made a request. He hoped to get Jin Mingyao's autopsy report. He also hoped that Xiao Wang could send a few team members to ask the hotel staff to see if they could find any new clues. On the other side of the phone, Captain Wang was silent for a moment and said, Brother Lu, this matter is not easy to handle. The higher-ups are guarding it to the death. They don't allow the police to reveal any information about this case. Even I can't get all the case information because of insufficient authority. Lu Jianfeng's face sank. It seems that Jin Yahui has put pressure on the police station. If the other party destroyed the evidence of Jin Mingyao forcing Zissou and fabricated false evidence to prove that Zissou had a relationship with Jiang Tianhao, then things will be troublesome. Zissou will most likely be sentenced to death. Brother Lu, I'm sorry. It's not that I don't want to help you. It's just that my ability is limited. Lu Jianfeng forced a smile. It's okay, Xiao Wang. If you have any information, please let me know. Okay, no problem. If I know anything, I'll definitely let Brother Lu know. Lu Jianfeng contacted a few acquaintances. Everyone said that they couldn't do anything. He pinched his eyebrows. He couldn't believe that he couldn't win against Jin Yahui. If he was transferred to Ying City in the future, wouldn't he be suppressed by Jin Yahui? On one hand, it was Zisu's life. On the other hand, it was his own dignity. He was really unwilling to admit defeat. He paced back and forth in the living room, frowning. Finally, his gloomy eyes turned to a certain point. He suddenly had an idea. He decided to take a risk and catch them off guard. Welfare, Song Shu 566. Chapter 9:13. Chen Tingfang bought a lot of fruits and supplements. She asked the chauffeur to take them to the hospital to visit Jiang Tianhao. As soon as she stepped into the ward, Yu Xiu rushed up and shouted at her. What are you doing here? Get out of here. Big sister Yu, I'm here to see Tianhao. How is he doing? Chen Tingfang lowered her stance and asked politely. Who's your big sister? Get lost, get lost. My son and I don't want to see you. There's no good in your Ji family. The old one killed my husband and the young one came to harm my son. Yu Xiu roared angrily. Her hands were not idle as she pushed Chen Tingfang hard. Chen Tingfang staggered back and almost fell. Chen Tingfang steadied herself with the help of the chauffeur. She took a deep breath and forced a smile. Big sister Yu, listen to me. The most important thing now is to wake Tianhao up. It's useless to throw a tantrum now. Let's sit down and have a good talk. When Yu Xiu thought about how her son was still unconscious, her tears fell uncontrollably. She hated Yi Zissou to the core and her scarlet eyes stared fiercely at Chen Tingfang as she cursed. You little slut raised by a whore, why should I have a good talk with you when you've caused my son to be in such a miserable state? Get out of here right now. I don't want to see you for even a second. Yu Xiu pushed Chen Tingfang out of the ward as she cursed. She threw all the supplements she bought at her and shouted, Get out! Get out of here! Many people heard the commotion and ran to the corridor to watch the show. Chen Tingfang was embarrassed to be stared at like a monkey in a circus show. Yu Xiu did not let her go. She pointed at Chen Tingfang's nose and said to the people around her, Everyone look! This is the mother of the murderer, Yi Zissou. Her good daughter not only fooled around with another man, abandoned my son, and even wanted to kill him. Chen Tingfang, do you think you can bribe my son with these supplements? Let me tell you, although we're poor, we have integrity. We won't be bribed by you. The onlookers pointed at Chen Tingfang and whispered among themselves. Some of them even talked about Chen Tingfang's past scandals. Yu Xiu received the support of the crowd and scolded even more vigorously. Even the ancestors of the Chen family and Ji family were scolded by her. The police officer in charge went out for lunch. When he came back, he found Yu Xiu cursing at the door of the ward. He scolded her. What's going on? Is it appropriate for you to curse in the hospital? Yu Xiu's face was covered in tears and snot. She grabbed the arm of the police officer and complained, Officer, you have to help me. My son is now unconscious, and this woman came to find trouble with us. Chen Tingfang saw Yu Xiu's ability to throw a tantrum. She had a headache and quickly explained, Officer, listen to me. I'm not here to make trouble. I want to visit Jiang Tianhao and express my apologies to Madame Yu Xiu. The police officer waved his hand impatiently and shook off Yu Xiu. He said, Jiang Tianhao is an important witness in the case. We received instructions from our superiors that no one is allowed to visit him except his mother. Madam Chen, please don't come again. Don't make things difficult for us. Chen Tingfang smiled apologetically. Okay, I understand. Sorry to trouble you, officer. The surrounding crowd started to whisper again. Chen Tingfang's face was about to burn. She quickly instructed the driver to pick up the gifts scattered on the ground and left dejectedly. Just as Chen Tingfang and Lu Jianfeng were thinking of ways to rescue Yi Zissou was being severely interrogated in the detention center. In a pitch-black room, Yi Zissou sat at one end of the table. On the other end, there was an expressionless female interrogator. The interrogator turned the incandescent lamp on the table to Yi Zisu's face. The strong light made her eyes hurt, making it difficult for her to open them. She subconsciously reached out to cover her eyes. The interrogator berated sternly, "Yi Zisu, did you kill Jin Mingyao?" Her voice was like a sharp sword dipped in poison. Yi Zisu's body trembled. She nervously clenched her fingers and said softly, "Yes, but he was the one who raped me. I was only stabbing him out of self-defense." The interrogator slammed her palm on the table and said sternly, "What evidence do you have to prove that he raped you? According to the forensic analysis, the semen in your body belongs to Jiang Tianhao, and Jin Mingyao didn't have sexual relations with you before he died." Yi Zisu said emotionally, "No, that's impossible. There's a problem with the forensic analysis. Jiang Tianhao didn't touch me at all. The person Jiang Tianhao raped was Jin Mingyao, and the person Jin Mingyao hurt was me." The interrogator said coldly, "This is slander. You don't have any evidence to prove what you're saying. I advise you to quickly confess the truth and tell us how you committed the crime." Yi Zisu had been interrogated continuously for 24 hours, and the interrogators had changed several times. Since she was arrested, she hadn't closed her eyes or taken a sip of water. Now, she could barely open her eyes and her throat was almost smoking. She was about to break down. She shouted hoarsely, "I've already said it many times. Jin Mingyao raped me. I killed him out of self-defense. No matter how many times you interrogate me, my answer will be the same." "Is that so?" The interrogator suddenly sneered. She suddenly stood up and turned off the monitor. She walked up to Yi Zisu and said condescendingly, "It seems that you still don't understand what an interrogation is. I'll make you understand." After that, the interrogator pulled Yi Zisu up from her seat and kicked her hard in the waist, causing her to lie on the ground. Yi Zisu felt that her bones were about to break. She screamed in pain. The interrogator squatted in front of her and pinched her chin with her fingers, forcing her to look up. She said coldly, "If you don't want to suffer, then tell the truth. The reason you killed Jin Mingyao was that he found out that you were having an affair with Jiang Tianhao." Yi Zisu's eyes were full of hatred. She said angrily, "You're forcing a confession. I want to file a complaint. I want to see my lawyer." The interrogator laughed as if she had heard a funny joke. "File a complaint? See your lawyer? Miss, you're really naive. If you don't confess your crimes, don't even think about going anywhere. You can't do this to me. My uncle is Lu Jianfeng. He won't let you off." "Oh, I'm so scared." "He's a high-ranking official in Hongqing. But I'm just doing things according to the law. What can he do to me?" "You." The interrogator's expression changed. She suddenly said sternly, "Yi Zisu, hurry up and confess. Why did you kill Jin Mingyao? Did he find out about your affair with Jiang Tianhao?" "No." Another round of interrogation began. Yi Zisu experienced a series of cruel treatments such as being beaten, interrogated, splashed with cold water, interrogated, electrocuted, interrogated, and so on. Her consciousness became more and more blurred. Her body was tormented by fatigue and pain. Her spirit was almost at its limit. But no matter how she was treated, she only had one answer. No. No. She had to persevere to have a chance of survival. It was late at night. This was destined to be a difficult night to sleep. In the dark room, it was so quiet that not a sound could be heard. The person wrapped in the quilt curled up into a ball and was entangled in a nightmare. "Jing Jing. Happy birthday. This is my sister, Yuqi." "Sister Yuqi, it's nice to meet you." In the dream, there were people whispering in Ji Yuqi's ear. Some were laughing, and some were singing happy birthday songs. It was noisy and lively. Suddenly, roses in full bloom appeared in front of her eyes. She heard the devil's voice. "Only this delicate red rose is worthy of your beauty." Many people toasted her. She knew them and didn't know them. She couldn't refuse. Her head was dizzy as she lay in Yi Zisu's arms. She heard Yi Zisu's muffled laughter. "Ha ha ha, we're all drunk. Who's going to send us home?" She was carried up in a broad embrace and a warm breath. She leaned in his arms and murmured, "Hubby, my head hurts. I want to go home." "Okay, let's go home." Jiang Tianhao's enlarged handsome face suddenly appeared in front of her eyes. She hugged him in relief, but in the next second, That face suddenly turned into Jean Mingyao's. Jean Mingyao pressed her under his body, a wretched smile on his face. Beauty, I've liked you for a long time. Just give in to me. She struggled in fear. He grabbed her hand with one hand and tore at her clothes with the other. She cried in fear, kicking and biting, refusing to let him near her. He slapped her so hard that she almost fainted. She gasped weakly, and he took the opportunity to tear off the last of her clothes. She gritted her teeth and used all her strength to kick him away. She threw herself onto the floor in a panic, trying to escape from his evil clutches. She ran for her life, but when she ran into the living room, he hugged her waist from behind and dragged her onto the carpet. He used all his strength to pry her legs apart. She fumbled around unwillingly and finally found a fruit knife on the coffee table. She raised the knife and ruthlessly stabbed it into his chest. Fresh blood spurted out from the wound like warm rain, staining her entire body. She covered her face in fear and cried out loud. She had killed someone. She hid in a corner in fear, trembling. She didn't know what to do. She didn't dare to call Jiang Tianhao because she didn't want to cause trouble for him. She didn't know how long she had been crying. Just when she was so afraid and desperate that she didn't know what to do, her phone rang. She hugged the phone and wailed. Shenji's anxious voice came from the phone. Yuqi, what happened? Where are you? I killed someone. Shenji. I'm so scared. I don't know what to do. I didn't do it on purpose. In the hotel room. Shenji hugged her, who was covered in blood, and held her face in his hands. Attention, Xinwu 799. Chapter 9:14. His dull eyes gazed at her face as he said gently, Chi-Chi, don't be afraid. I'm here. In the prison visitation room. Shenji's hands were cuffed. He had a gentle smile on his face as he said, Chi-Chi, don't be afraid. I was the one who killed her. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel burdened. Live happily, my Chi-Chi. Through the glass window he said, Chi-Chi, if you don't love Jiang Tianhao anymore, can you love me? She bawled and turned herself in at the police station. No one believed her because Shenji had already created perfect evidence to prove that he was the real murderer. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison for manslaughter. The CEO of the Shen Group was reduced to a prisoner because of her. And she was still living in the beautiful dream that Jiang Tianhao had woven for her. When she woke up from the dream, Ji Yuqi's face was already covered in tears. She bit the back of her hand and cried bitterly. This nightmare was a replay of what had happened to her in her previous life. It dug out the most painful wound in her heart and showed it to her. She had hurt Shenji once again. The thing that she could not forgive herself for the most was that she had failed to stop Shenji from taking the blame for her. Suddenly, she really wanted to see him. She did not care about anything else and ran downstairs as fast as she could. In the middle of the night, she drove to his villa. When Shenji was awakened by the knocking on the door, he could not believe his eyes. Was this extremely pathetic little woman in front of him his Chi-Chi? Her curly hair was messy and draped over her shoulders. Her face was covered in tears and she was wearing thin pajamas. She had a furry slipper on her right foot and the other foot was bare. When she saw him, her eyes immediately filled with tears. Big drops of tears fell down her face as she suddenly threw herself into his arms. He quickly hugged her tightly, lifted her up from the ground, and put her on the bed. He crawled under the blanket and held her in his arms. His hands rubbed against her arms to warm her up. When her body slowly warmed up and stopped trembling, he kissed her eyes and said gently, Chi-Chi, what happened? Before seeing him, she had a lot of things she wanted to say to him, but when she was in his arms, she didn't know where to start. Hearing his strong heartbeat and smelling his familiar scent, her nose turned sour and her tears fell uncontrollably. She wrapped her hands around his neck and kissed his lips. Bitter tears spread between their lips and tongues. He lovingly kissed away the tears on her face and whispered, Chi-Chi, no matter what happens, I will always be by your side, so don't be afraid. Her eyes were filled with tears, and her heart was filled with warmth. After a long time, she leaned into his embrace and said softly, Aja, do you believe in reincarnation? Shenji rubbed his chin against her hair and said gently, if reincarnation really exists, I will definitely follow you forever. No matter where you go, I will find you. Ji Yuqi looked up and stared into his eyes seriously. Then I will definitely wait for you. I will wait for you to find me. She was willing to believe that her previous life was just a reincarnation. When she died, that reincarnation would disappear. That way, Shenja wouldn't have to wait so hopelessly. He smiled and scratched her nose. Okay, let's agree. Before I come, you are not allowed to love anyone else. Okay. Never again. Never again would she fall in love with another man before waiting for him. If he didn't appear, she would go and find him. She would never leave him for eternity. That night, she slept soundly in his arms. She did not have any nightmares, and they slept all the way until dawn. Good morning, baby. When she opened her eyes, she saw Shenja's smiling eyes. He gave her a passionate morning kiss. She pushed him away shyly. Don't. I haven't washed up yet. Don't be afraid. Let's kiss first. He kissed her lips and murmured. After the tender moment, he helped her get a change of clothes. He patted her head and smiled gently. Baby, quickly come downstairs after you're done washing up. I'll let you see my handiwork. Okay. Ji Yuqi smiled happily and sat up. As she was putting on her shoes, she saw a pair of brand new slippers. She couldn't help but think of her sorry state last night and the slipper she had lost at some point. Her cheeks burned, and she quickly put on her shoes. Then, without looking at Shenja, she ran into the bathroom like a wisp of smoke. Shenja looked at the little woman who ran away in a hurry like a frightened rabbit. He shook his head in amusement and bent down to pick up the change of clothes. He walked briskly to the bathroom door and gently knocked. He chuckled and said, Chi-Chi, you forgot to take your clothes. Ji Yuqi opened the door and reached out to take the clothes. She stuck out her tongue embarrassedly. Thank you. Silly little thing. Shenja smiled and rubbed her hair. Go on. I'll wait for you downstairs. The morning sun shone through the huge glass wall and shone into the clean dining room. The two of them sat at a long European-style dining table. On the table was a Western-style breakfast with ham, fried eggs, toast, mellow milk, and an exquisite fruit cake. The atmosphere was very warm. They ate elegantly and occasionally whispered a few words. Both of them had a warm smile on their faces. They were like an old couple who had been together for many years and were full of tacit understanding. After the beautiful breakfast time, Ji Yuqi took advantage of the warm atmosphere to confess to Shenja what she had done. After hearing her words, Shenja's handsome face turned as red as the bottom of a pot. He gritted his teeth and said, You knew that Jiang Tianhao and Yi Zixu were trying to harm you, but you still went with Yi Zixu to the birthday party? Shi Gigai nodded. Yes. He glared at her and said fiercely, What did you promise me? You won't put yourself in danger again. Did you even take my words to heart? She tugged at his sleeve pitifully. Aja, don't be angry. I'll be fine. I already knew about their tricks, so I beat them at their own game. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put myself at risk. Besides, Qing Sang has been secretly protecting me. No one can hurt me. That night, she pretended to be drunk and was taken to the hotel by Yi Zixu. After she knocked Jiang Tianhao out, she fed him medicine and stuffed him under the bed. Then, she put the fruit knife on the bedside table and asked Qing Sang to help install the surveillance cameras and design all the links. This led to the tragedy of Broken Chrysanthemum, full of wounds, and led Yi Zixu to the path of crime. Shenja pinched her cheek fiercely and said through gritted teeth, One day, I'll be angered to death by you. Can't you be a little more obedient? Ji Yuqi hugged his neck and said coquettishly, Aja, after I deal with those people, I'll listen to you and won't mess around anymore. He hugged her and smiled bitterly. Why do I feel like I'm raising a daughter? A rebellious daughter and a troubled father. Chi-Chi, your father must be having a hard time. He didn't dare to imagine what would happen if her plan went wrong and those bastards hurt her. He really couldn't let his guard down for a moment. He had to watch over her all the time in the future. Aja, I love you. Ji Yuqi held his cheeks and said sweet words shamelessly to divert his attention. Her beautiful eyes looked at him expectantly. Her beautiful cheeks were tinged with a faint blush. She was acting coquettishly. Even if his heart was made of stone, it had already melted. However, he still hardened his heart and said, It's useless to say that I love you. I'm still angry. Aja, I love you. She climbed on top of him and kissed his cold lips with a pout. Seeing that his face was still dark, she continued to kiss him. Every time she kissed him, she would say, "I love you." And she would say it in a different language. English, Japanese, Korean, Italian. In order to please young Master Shen, Ji Yuqi racked her brains and said all the languages she knew. In the end, Shenja finally lost to her. He kissed her fiercely and planted strawberries all over her neck. With a dark face, he said, "Do you still dare to do it in the future?" She grabbed the clothes in front of his chest and blinked pitifully. "I don't dare anymore." Shenja ruffled her hair hard and finally let her go. Although Shenja said that he was angry, he was already thinking about how to deal with the aftermath. The two of them analyzed the situation and felt that even if Jiang Tianhao woke up, he would not implicate Yuqi in order to protect himself. Otherwise, he would have an additional charge of seduction and rape. Therefore, in order to clear his name, he would most likely stand on Jin Yahui's side and admit that he had an affair with Yi Zixu. He would also testify that Yi Zixu had deliberately killed Jin Mingyao. Yi Zixu had Lu Jianfeng's support. In the end, a simple murder case would turn into a power struggle between Lu Jianfeng and Jin Yahui. What they needed to do now was to intensify the conflict between Lu Jianfeng and Jin Yahui. They needed to make them fight and both sides suffer. Ji Yuqi took out a USB flash drive from her handbag and handed it to Shen Zhe. "This is the surveillance video of Yi Zixu killing Jin Mingyao. Ahem, the content is heavy. Please be careful." Shen Zhe glanced at her and inserted the USB flash drive into the computer expressionlessly. Not long after, the room was filled with moans. After a while, Jiang Tianhao suddenly got up from under the bed and threw himself on Jin Mingyao's body to do some thrusting. Shen Zhe turned to look at Ji Yuqi. Ji Yuqi quickly covered her eyes with both hands to show that she did not see anything. He turned his head again and watched the video expressionlessly. He completely regarded it as a violent and erotic horror movie. After watching it, he said in a calm voice, "Don't do this kind of thing in the future. Be careful not to get a needle eye." Ji Yuqi quickly raised her hand. "I pressed the fast-forward button. I didn't see anything clearly." "It's true." Shen Zhe nodded non-committally. "With this evidence, we can at least save Yi Zixu's life. Whether it's Lu Jianfeng or Jin Yahui, if they know of its existence, they will get it at all costs." Ji Yuqi touched her chin with her right hand and smiled maliciously. "Then let them fight. It's best if they fight until they bleed." Attention, Hongcha 866. Chapter 9:15. Just as the police were extorting a confession from Yi Zixu, the situation suddenly took a turn. Someone anonymously called the TV station and said that he lived in the building opposite the hotel and saw the incident with his binoculars. Yi Zixu was actually knocked out by Jiang Tianhao and then raped by Jin Mingyao. After that, Jiang Tianhao raped Jin Mingyao. This statement was simply too shocking. Even if the TV station was ordered by the higher-ups to not broadcast any news that went against Jin Mingyao's reputation, there were still a few bold people who spread this shocking news on the internet. The power of the netizens was very strong. In just one night, this news was pushed to the headlines. Many netizens stood up to support Yi Zixu and believed that she was indeed raped and killed because of excessive self-defense. There were also people who revealed that Jin Mingyao was a womanizer and had improper relationships with many women. They even said that he had once raped an underage prostitute. There were even people who questioned why the mainstream media did not objectively report the murder case and instead stood on Jin Mingyao's side. That person sharply pointed out that there was only one answer, and that was Jin Mingyao's father, Jin Yahui, who was manipulating things behind the scenes. Jin Yahui abused his power for personal gain and was unworthy of the title, public servant. As the matter blew up, Jin Yahui was pushed into the limelight. On the other hand, Yi Zixu's backer, Lu Jianfeng, remained silent and almost made people forget about his existence. Chen Tingfang looked at the heated discussion on the internet and said uneasily, "Cousin, is this really going to work?" The mainstream media still did not speak up for Zixu. Will Jin Yahui continue to suppress news that is unfavorable to Jin Mingyao? Lu Jianfeng said in a deep voice. "Of course, this is not enough. Next, I will take out evidence of Jin Yahui abusing his power for personal gain and bending the law for personal gain. I will let the higher-ups notice him and investigate his background. Let's see how long he can be arrogant." Having been in the officialdom for many years, Lu Jianfeng naturally had some connections. He went around collecting evidence of Jin Yahui's crimes, wanting to pull him down. This way, Jin Yahue would no longer be able to interfere with Zisu's case. Although the method was a little roundabout, it was the most effective. Recently, Jin Yahue had been overwhelmed by the news on the internet. He guessed that someone was adding fuel to the fire behind the scenes, trying to oust him from his position. However, he couldn't back down. If he backed down, his dead son would have to bear the infamy. He had to make Yi Zisu pay for his son's life. He asked his subordinates to contact all the major websites and asked them to quickly delete those unfavorable comments about him. He also called his former leaders to explain the whole story, and said that he was absolutely innocent to gain their support. Just as he was getting tired of dealing with them, he received a mysterious email. The content of the email was very brief. "I'm an eyewitness. I know the whole truth." Jin Yahue's expression changed and he immediately replied, "Why should I believe you?" About 10 minutes later, the other party sent an email with no content, only a video. He clicked on the video. The playback wasn't smooth, and it was very choppy. However, he could clearly see that it was indeed his son raping Yi Zisu. Halfway through the video, a man suddenly popped out from under the bed. At this moment, he suddenly heard a click, and the video turned pitch black. No matter what he did, he couldn't continue playing the video. What happened after that? Jin Yahue's mind was full of questions. Even though he knew that the other party was deliberately baiting him, he still replied, "Who are you? What's your motive?" This time the other party replied very quickly, "It's very simple. I want you to let Yi Zisu off." Jin Yahue frowned and his mind raced. If the other party wanted to let Yi Zisu off, then he must be someone who knew Yi Zisu. Ji Bowen was just a businessman and Yi Zisu was his stepdaughter. He wouldn't go to such lengths for her. Could it be Yi Zisu's uncle, Lu Jianfeng? Jin Yahue connected the dots and thought about it seriously. Suddenly, everything became clear. According to the gossip from his colleagues, Lu Jianfeng was about to be sent to Ying City. That meant that he had a reason to target him. Firstly, he wanted to save Yi Zisu. Secondly, he wanted to pave the way for him to come to Ying City and get rid of him. He gritted his teeth and replied, "Are you the one who targeted me on the internet?" After waiting for nearly half an hour, the other party slowly replied with 2 words. "No. No. Of course not. It must have been him." Jin Yahue had already assumed that the person on the other end of the computer was Lu Jianfeng. He quickly typed, "Change your condition. I can give you anything you want." The other party replied, "Haha, it seems like you don't have the sincerity to negotiate with me. Then let this video go viral. Aren't you curious about what happened after the video?" What happened after the video? Could it be that the rumors on the internet were true? That Jiang Tianhao had raped his son? That was simply unbelievable. However, if that was the case and the video was leaked, his son would die without dignity. How could he, as an official, show his face? Jin Yahue's face was ashen. He hesitated for a long time before replying, "Let me think about it." The other party replied quickly, "Okay, 2 days. After 2 days, I will let you and your son's reputation fall to rock bottom." Lu Jianfeng, you and I are irreconcilable. Jin Yahue was furious. He slammed his palm on the table, causing the cup on the table to fall to the ground and shatter into pieces. What Jin Yahue didn't know was that when he opened the other party's email, the complete video of the rape had been injected into his computer by a virus and stored on the E-drive. On the other side, Chen Tingfang also received an email. There was also an incomplete video in the email. The person who sent the email wrote, "I found this video when I was helping someone repair their computer. I was shocked at the time, so I secretly saved it. Unfortunately, the video was injected with a virus. Halfway through the video, it will be automatically destroyed. Even I can't restore it. After I found out the truth, I was very hesitant. I didn't know if I should stand up for you. However, when I thought of an innocent woman being raped, falsely accused, and even sentenced to death, my conscience was condemned. I couldn't stay silent anymore, so I sent the video to you. I hope you can help Miss Yi." Chen Tingfang's body trembled as she watched the video. She watched her daughter being humiliated with her own eyes, but she couldn't do anything to save her. Her heart ached like it was being stabbed by a knife. Her fingers trembled as she replied to the email, "I am very grateful that you sent this evidence to me. May I ask, who did you see it when you were helping repair their computer? She waited until the evening before the person replied. That person is too powerful. I don't dare to be his enemy. I'm just an ordinary citizen. This is all I can do. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. I'm still very grateful to you. Chen Tingfang's whole body leaned on the soft chair. Her eyes stared blankly at the computer screen. In her heart, she already had the answer. It must be Jin Yahui. After Lu Jianfeng learned about this matter, he said decisively. Chen Tingfang looked tired. I guessed it was him. If the evidence is in his hands, then it will be troublesome. He will definitely destroy it. Lu Jianfeng's face was calm. His fingers gently tapped the back of the chair and said, even if there is only a glimmer of hope, we can't give up. Chen Tingfang hurriedly asked, Cousin, do you have any good ideas? I know a very powerful hacker. Let him hack into Jin Yahui's computer and see if he can find the complete video. Lu Jianfeng frowned slightly. Actually, there was another way, and that was to hack into Jin Yahui's home to look for possible evidence. However, the risk was too great. If the matter was exposed and he was implicated, then his career would be over. Just as Lu Jianfeng was thinking of a way to deal with Jin Yahui, news came from the hospital that Jiang Tianhao had regained consciousness. This news immediately caused a sensation. Many media reporters blocked the entrance of the hospital, wanting to interview Jiang Tianhao. However, they were all stopped by the police guarding him outside the door. The criminal police in charge of the case also rushed to the hospital immediately to ask about the case. Jiang Tianhao was still very weak. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. After he woke up, he found out about the progress of the case from Wuxia. He immediately chose the statement that was most beneficial to him. Facing the police officer who was taking down his statement, he slowly said, on the night of the incident, Yi Zissou asked me to meet and said that she wanted to talk to me. After all, we were husband and wife, so I agreed. When I rushed to the hotel, I found that she seemed to be drunk. She hugged me and refused to let go. She even said that she wanted to remarry me. I couldn't control myself and had sex with her. The police officer asked, when you had sex with her, did you know that she was dating Jin Mingyao? The police officer's words were very tempting. Jiang Tianhao followed his direction and replied, I didn't know. She didn't mention it to me. What happened after that? When we were having sex, Jin Mingyao suddenly appeared. He scolded Yi Zissou and said that she was a B*TCH. He said that she was already in a relationship with him and was still seducing another man. I was stunned at the time and didn't know what was going on. Yi Zissou suddenly jumped up and got into an argument with Jin Mingyao. Jin Mingyao slapped Yi Zissou. Yi Zissou grabbed a fruit knife from the bedside table and stabbed Jin Mingyao in the back. I was scared out of my wits and wanted to separate them. When I ran up to stop them, Yi Zissou suddenly stabbed me with the knife. After that I fainted. Did you see Yi Zissou kill Jin Mingyao with your own eyes? I saw her stab him many times, but I wasn't sure if he was still breathing because at that time, I was already unconscious. The police officer asked a few more questions, and Jiang Tianhao answered them one by one. In short, not only did he clear his name, but he also cleared the suspicion of Jin Mingyao's rape and pushed all the blame onto Yi Zissou. Beauty novel, Song Shu 566. Chapter 9:16. With Jiang Tianhao's testimony, Jin Yahui heaved a sigh of relief. But at the same time, he was worried about the video. If the video were to be leaked, all his efforts would have been in vain. Did he really have to let Yi Zissou go? He couldn't take it lying down. Jin Yahui was hesitant and extremely annoyed. Lu Jianfeng had already bribed a hacker to hack into Jin Yahui's computer. Sure enough, he found the video on his computer, as well as some evidence of his corruption. Lu Jianfeng was extremely excited. He sorted out the evidence he had collected, wrote a report letter, and mailed it to the relevant department anonymously. Also, he asked Chen Tingfang to contact Jin Yahui directly and threaten him with the video to let Yi Zissou go. Over the phone, Chen Tingfang went straight to the point. Mr. Jin, we all know the truth about my daughter killing your son. I don't want to blow things up, so I'm giving you one last chance. Let my daughter go. Otherwise, I don't mind fighting to the death. Jin Yahui said coldly, so it was you who used the email to threaten me. If I listen to your arrangements and let Yi Zisu go, what if you go back on your words and spread the video, ruining my son's reputation? Chen Tingfang didn't understand what he meant by his first sentence, but when she heard what he said next, she couldn't help but sneer. Mr. Jean, are you joking? Even if my daughter was overly defensive, she still killed someone. She'll be in jail for at least a few years. You're so resourceful that it's easy for you to make her die quietly in jail. Since my daughter is in your hands, how would I dare to act rashly and spread the video? So not only could the video be used to threaten Jin Yahue, it was also Zisu's amulet. Chen Tingfang had to make good use of it. Jin Yahue gritted his teeth and said with a sullen face, "You're right. If you dare to go back on your words, I won't let you off." Don't worry, I'm not that stupid. My daughter is still suffering in the detention center. I want you to clear her name as soon as possible. I'll deal with it as soon as possible. Remember your promise. In the end, Jin Yahue compromised. However, he was a petty person, so he had already thought of a way to take revenge on Lu Jianfeng. For the past few days, the people of Ying City saw the news of Yi Zisu killing people when they opened their eyes. When they closed their eyes, they still heard the same news. However, the content had changed drastically. Jiang Tianhao finally admitted that in order to bribe Jin Mingyao, he had deliberately sent Yi Zisu to Jin Mingyao's room. Furthermore, he had personally witnessed Jin Mingyao sexually assaulting Yi Zisu. Afterwards, Yi Zisu had fought back and over-defended herself, killing Jin Mingyao and injuring him. Yu Xiu couldn't even raise her head. She didn't even dare to step out of her house. Yi Zisu was finally released from the little black room. The dark interrogation and 7 days of torture had caused her body to become thin and haggard. She was like a withered rose, completely devoid of life. When Chen Tingfang saw Yi Zisu in the reception room, she almost couldn't recognize her. She was sitting in front of the thick glass in a daze like a puppet. Her pale face still had scars that hadn't healed. It was obvious that she had been violently treated in the detention center. Chen Tingfang's heart ached so much that tears streamed down her face. After calling her name a few times, she finally looked up at Chen Tingfang and called out in a daze, "Mom?" Chen Tingfang's tears fell even more fiercely. She reached out her hand and pressed it against the glass. She forced out an ugly smile to comfort her. "Zisu, don't be afraid. You'll be fine. Mom and Uncle are trying to think of a way for you." Yi Zisu saw a familiar yet unfamiliar face through the glass. That face was covered in tears and she was crying so sadly. When she was being tortured in the little black room, every time she couldn't hold on, she would think of her mother. She would think of her mother's promise that she would get her out. She would then muster up her courage again. Yi Zisu didn't dare to recall those dark days. She slowly reached out her right hand and pressed it against Chen Tingfang's hand. She said in tears, "Mom, I'm sorry. I was wrong in the past. I won't go against you again. Mom, I love you." Chen Tingfang burst into tears. "Zisu, Mom loves you too. You'll be fine. You must hold on." "Mom, don't cry." Yi Zisu reached out her hand and wanted to wipe the tears from her face. However, she couldn't touch her face through the glass. Chen Tingfang's heart ached when she saw this. She cried even more sadly. "Mom, don't cry. If you cry again, your eyes will swell." Yi Zisu wanted to laugh, but more tears fell. "Mom, when I get out, I will be filial to you. Mom, if you're not happy now, divorce Uncle Ji. Don't fight anymore." After this, Yi Zisu completely thought it through. No matter how much money she had, she couldn't bring it with her when she was born, and she couldn't bring it with her when she died. It was better to live happily. Unfortunately, she understood it too late. What awaited her was a few years of prison life. In the end, Yi Zisu was sentenced to 5 years in prison for excessive self-defense and murder. Jiang Tianhao was an accomplice to the rape and was also sentenced to 5 years in prison. After Yi Zisu was transferred to the women's prison, Ji Bowen visited her and told her to reform herself and turn over a new leaf. Yi Zisu was both grateful and guilty. Her eyes reddened as she said, "Uncle Ji, I've done a lot of wrong things in the past. I'm really grateful that you're still willing to visit me. I wrote this letter to Sister Yuchi. Please help me pass it to her." It was a letter of apology. It could be said that it was written with sincerity, making those who read it cry and those who read it feel sad. However, Ji Yuqi read it expressionlessly and didn't say anything. She directly threw it into the trash can. Without saying a word, she turned around and went upstairs. Just as she took a step, her tears fell. She clenched her fists tightly and said in her heart, "My baby, Mom has finally avenged you. That evil woman who harmed your life has finally received the punishment she deserves." Ji Bowen looked at his daughter's lonely and proud back view and sighed helplessly. Some injuries left scars that could never be healed. Lu Jianfeng used a business trip as an excuse to rush from Hanqing to Ying City to deal with Yi Zisu's case. After her case was settled, it was time for him to return to Hanqing. When Chen Tingfeng sent him to the car, he looked at her deeply with a hint of reluctance hidden in the depths of his eyes. In the end, he raised his hand and stroked the hair by her ear just like he did when he was younger. His fingers inadvertently brushed against her cheek, and his deep voice had a different kind of warmth. "Tingfeng, I'm leaving. Take care of yourself." Chen Tingfeng smiled and said reluctantly, "Okay, you take care too. Cousin, I don't know when I'll see you again." Lu Jianfeng couldn't help but hug her and whispered, "Soon. When I'm transferred to Ying City, you'll be able to see me any time." She patted his waist gently with her right hand and smiled. "Okay, I'll be waiting for you. Cousin, be careful on the road." The woman in his arms was already old. She wasn't as young and beautiful as she was when she was young, but in Lu Jianfeng's eyes, she would always be the little girl in his arms. He tightened his arms and slowly let go of her. In a gentle voice he said, "Zissou is right. If you're not happy, divorce Ji Bowen. I can still afford to raise you." Chen Tingfeng pouted coquettishly. "I'm already the child's mother. How can I let cousin raise me and become a joke to others?" Lu Jianfeng's deep eyes gazed into her eyes. His lips moved slightly, but in the end, he didn't say anything. He only pressed his broad palm on her head and said in a low voice, "I'm leaving. Take care." The car slowly drove out of the Ji residence. Chen Tingfeng stood at the gate of the courtyard and looked in the direction of the car. She smiled faintly. After Lu Jianfeng got into the car, he leaned against the back of the seat and closed his eyes to rest. The car sped along and soon drove up the mountain road. He felt that the car was getting faster and faster, and he felt uncomfortable. He opened his eyes and looked at the driver in the front seat. He said lightly, "Xiaoyang, drive slower." Xiaoyang's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He looked at Lu Jianfeng through the rearview mirror and said nervously, "Minister Lu, the car's brakes are broken." Lu Jianfeng's heart tightened. He quickly straightened his body and said in a deep voice, "Don't panic. Stay calm. Pay attention to the road ahead and control the steering wheel." Xiaoyang was an experienced driver who had been with him for 3 years. If even he was panicking, it meant that the situation was very dangerous. Sure enough, Xiaoyang gritted his teeth and said, "I've already tried to reduce the speed, but it didn't work. If it really doesn't work, we can only rely on friction to reduce the speed of the car. Minister, sit tight." Lu Jianfeng nodded. "Okay, don't be nervous. You can do it." Just as he finished speaking, a truck came out of the fork in the road and rushed towards their car. Xiaoyang watched as it drove into their lane. Xiaoyang nervously honked the horn. The truck continued to drive as it got closer and closer. Xiaoyang made a prompt decision and turned the steering wheel to the side of the road. Who knew that the truck would also turn into the lane? Seeing that the two cars were about to collide, Xiaoyang turned the steering wheel again. The car was like a divine dragon swaying its tail. With a violent inertia, it slammed into the side of the road. There was no control of the brakes. After hitting the green belt, it crashed into the fence behind it. The loud sound of the collision echoed in the empty valley. The front of the car was smashed into the green belt and was dented. It was hard to imagine the situation of the people sitting in the car. The truck driver saw that the situation was bad and had already driven away. In the narrow car, after the windshield was smashed, the debris scattered everywhere. Xiaoyang's body was covered in cuts and blood. He hung his head and leaned against the back of the seat, motionless. No one knew if he was dead or alive. Lu Jianfeng, who was sitting in the back, had his arms and legs cut by the glass. At the same time, his head hit the front seat and was in a semi-conscious state. He struggled to open his eyes and called out Xiaoyang's name with a hoarse voice. There was no response for a long time. In the end, He struggled to take out his phone and called the emergency number. Attention, Xinwu 799. Chapter 9:17. Director Jean, I've already gotten someone to do what you've instructed. It's done cleanly, and there won't be any traces left behind. Jean Yahweh chuckled. Very good, little Lee. With you in charge, I'm assured. The person on the other end of the phone tried to curry favor with him before hesitantly asking, what about the bid for the land in the east of the city? Don't worry, I'll handle it. All right, that's all. I have a meeting now. All right, Director Jean. You're busy. Jean Yahweh hung up the phone. Under his smiling eyes, there was a hidden cold hatred. He purposely got someone to create a car accident. Even if he couldn't kill Lu Jianfeng, he would at least cripple him. A series of knocks on the door interrupted his reverie. 2 men in black suits walked in expressionlessly. Jean Yahweh, someone reported you for corruption and bribery. Please come with us for investigation. Jean Yahweh's heart thumped. He immediately smiled and said, the 2 of you, are you mistaken? How could I possibly do such a thing? Is there a mistake? Please come with us to the Commission for Discipline Inspection. The 2 men showed no mercy as they walked to his left and right to prevent him from running away. Jean Yahweh's face was ashen. Would he be able to walk out safely after entering the Commission for Discipline Inspection? Just as Lu Jianfeng had planned, Jean Yahweh was interrogated. As for himself, he was also attacked by Jean Yahweh. He suffered a slight concussion, a broken arm, and a serious cut on his leg. He would have to be hospitalized for at least half a month. His driver, Little Wang, was seriously injured. He was lying unconscious in the ICU, and no one knew if he could wake up. When Chen Tingfang found out that he was in a car accident, she immediately rushed to the People's Hospital. When she saw the man wrapped up like a mummy on the bed, she couldn't help but cry. Cousin, it's all my fault. If I didn't ask you to come to Ing City, you wouldn't have gotten into a car accident. Lu Jianfeng really wanted to wipe away her tears, but Ji Bowen was also present. He only raised his hand slightly and comforted her. Tingfang, don't blame yourself. No one can say for sure whether it's a natural or man-made disaster. My injuries aren't that serious, and I'll get better soon. Ji Bowen patted Chen Tingfang's shoulder to comfort her. Chen Tingfang said with reddened eyes, Cousin, have you informed cousin-in-law about your injury? Not yet. You know how hot-tempered she is. I'm afraid that she and Lil Hao will be worried. I plan to wait until my injuries are better before informing her. That's good too. Lil Hao is about to take the college entrance exam. At this critical juncture, it's best not to distract him. Chen Tingfang picked up an apple and said while peeling it, Cousin, I've been taking care of you in the hospital these days. Whatever you need or want to eat, just tell me. Don't be shy. Lu Jianfeng gently smiled. Just hire a caretaker. Bowen will have an opinion if you take care of me personally. Ji Bowen smiled. Department head Lu, you must be joking. You're Tingfang's cousin, which means that you're my cousin as well. How can I have an opinion if she takes care of you? Lu Jianfeng joked. You're still saying that you don't have an opinion? We're family, so why are you being so polite and calling me department head Lu? Ji Bowen awkwardly smiled. I'm used to it. I haven't changed it yet. Please don't take it to heart. The 3 of them chatted for a while and tacitly did not mention anything about the past. The atmosphere was still harmonious. Half an hour later, Ji Bowen had something to do in the company and left first. Chen Tingfang went home to make soup for Lu Jianfeng and also left. Lu Jianfeng was the only one left in the huge ward, which made him feel a little lonely. He stared at the ceiling and sighed heavily as he thought of something. Lu Jianfeng's right hand was fractured and covered in a thick cast. He couldn't eat and wanted to use his left hand. Chen Tingfang rebuked, It's inconvenient to eat with your left hand. Let me feed you. An uncomfortable expression appeared on his handsome face. He coughed and said, That's not good. I'll do it myself. As he spoke, he picked up the spoon with his left hand and awkwardly scooped up a spoonful of rice. Chen Tingfang quickly snatched the spoon from his hand. You're my cousin. What's there to be embarrassed about? Let me feed you. She sat beside him and brought the spoon to his mouth. She smiled. Come, Open your mouth. Lu Jianfeng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Her tone sounded like she was coaxing a child. Although he felt a little uncomfortable, he still held the spoon and swallowed the mouthful of rice. The two of them were very close. He could clearly smell the faint fragrance on her body. She fed him spoonful by spoonful and wiped the corners of his mouth with a tissue from time to time. Her expression was very gentle and her gaze was very focused. Lu Jianfeng's muscles gradually tightened and a complicated emotion flashed across his deep eyes. After finishing the bowl of rice, his back was drenched in sweat. Chen Tingfang saw the sweat on his forehead and naturally touched it with her finger. She said softly, "Cousin, why are you sweating? I'll get some hot water to help you wipe it." Lu Jianfeng pressed her hand and said in a dry voice, "No need. You've been out for a long time. Go back early." Chen Tingfang's expression darkened and her tone was bleak. "There's nothing to do even if I go back. Facing the empty big house, there's no one to talk to. Zissou isn't here either. Just thinking about it makes me sad. It's better to stay here and accompany cousin." There was a hint of heartache in his eyes and he tightened his grip on her hand. "Since you're unhappy, why do you have to suffer?" She smiled bitterly and shook her head. "Cousin, I'm not willing to give up just like that. I've worked so hard for him for so many years, and I have nothing to say if I can't compare to his dead wife. However, I can't even compare to his child. He only treats me as a nanny of the Ji family. He only said that I'm heartless and hurt his child, but why didn't he ask me why I became like this? It's all Ji Bowen's fault." The heartache in his eyes deepened, and he couldn't help but reach out to stroke the hair by her ear. Just like when they were young, whenever she was wronged, he would silently sit by her side. He didn't say any comforting words, but just quietly accompanied her. Her eyes were sore and she almost cried. She quickly stood up and turned her back. "I'll get a basin of hot water." When she returned with hot water, there was already a faint smile on her face. She wet the towel in the hot water, wrung it dry, and carefully wiped his cheeks. Her extremely gentle action was like a feather, causing ripples in the deep lake of his heart. During this period, Chen Tingfang would personally cook every day, make soup, cook, and send it to the hospital personally to take care of Lu Jianfeng. With Lu Jianfeng's comfort, her mood was much better. Occasionally, she would make soup in the kitchen and hum a little song that she liked when she was young. Today, she was carrying a box of food and was about to go out when an angry voice came from outside. "Let go of me! Let go of me! I want to see that bitch Chen Tingfang." Chen Tingfang's eyes narrowed and she snorted. It was Yu Xiu. She clearly remembered how Yu Xiu humiliated her in the hospital. She didn't settle the score with her, but she actually came knocking on her door. She really deserved it. Chen Tingfang put the box of food on the table and quickly walked to the door. Her face darkened and her sharp gaze swept across the three people in front of her. Two security guards grabbed Yu Xiu's arms on both sides. They hadn't seen her for more than 10 days, and half of her hair had turned white. She was like a shrew, throwing a tantrum and kicking the two security guards. When she saw Chen Tingfang, she stopped kicking and roared angrily, "Chen Tingfang, return my son to me!" Chen Tingfang ignored her and shouted at the security guards, "How are you doing your job? How dare you let outsiders into the villa?" The two security guards apologized profusely. "We're sorry, Mrs. G. This woman broke in when we weren't paying attention. We'll take her away immediately." Yu Xiu struggled and screamed, "Chen Tingfang, you bitch! You'll die a horrible death. My son is innocent. Hurry up and let him go," she cursed loudly. Chen Tingfang's face became uglier and uglier. She suddenly shouted, "You two, let her go first." The security guards were in a dilemma. "Mrs. G, this woman is crazy. What if she does something?" "It's okay. Let her go first. I want to talk to her." The security guards let go of Yu Xiu, but they didn't dare to be careless. They stood closest to Yu Xiu. If she dared to do anything to hurt Chen Tingfang, they would immediately subdue her. Chen Tingfang stared coldly at Yu Xiu and sneered, "Yu Xiu, you didn't expect this, right? Every dog has its day. Today you're in my hands." After the argument just now, Yu Xiu was in a mess. Her hair was messy and her clothes were untidy. After she regained her freedom, she didn't do anything extreme like the security guards had expected. Instead, she glared at Chen Tingfang and said through gritted teeth, "There's no good person in the Ji family. Ji Bowen killed my husband, and your daughter wants to kill my son. Even if I die and turn into a ghost, I won't let you off." Chen Tingfang didn't take her threat seriously at all. She sneered, "You said my husband killed your husband. Are you delusional? You're the one who's delusional. If Ji Bowen didn't kill my husband and steal the company, the Ji Group would be our family now. What's there to be proud of? Your identity as a rich wife was stolen." Yu Xiao thought about her husband's tragic death and her son's imprisonment. Then, she thought about how she was alone and living a difficult life. She felt more and more desperate and broke down. There was only one thought in her mind, and that was that her tragedy was caused by Ji Bowen. She wanted to kill Ji Bowen and everyone in the Ji family. There was a voice in her head that kept saying, "Kill them, kill them." She suddenly pushed away the security guards in front of her and rushed to the Ji family's living room. Chen Tingfang and the other two were caught off guard and were a step behind. When they ran to the living room, Yu Xiao had already run into the kitchen. They didn't know what she wanted to do, so they quickly chased after her. When they reached the kitchen door, they saw Yu Xiao holding cooking oil in one hand and a lighter in the other. She poured the cooking oil on the ground and shouted, "Don't come over. If you dare come over, I'll set it on fire immediately." "Don't set it on fire. Calm down. We'll leave immediately." One of the security guards reacted quickly. He gave his companion a look, indicating that he should hurry out and call the police. He pulled Chen Tingfang's arm and slowly left the kitchen. The security guard quietly hid behind Chen Tingfang and his colleagues. He planned to retreat further away and call the police. Unexpectedly, Yu Xiao's eyes were very sharp. She noticed his small movements and screamed, "Don't move. The three of you don't move. If anyone dares to move, I'll set this place on fire immediately." As she spoke, she pressed the lighter with a click, and a flame sprang up. The red tongue of flame could engulf this place at any time. Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 9:18. Chen Tingfang reached out and comforted her nervously. "Don't move, don't move. We won't move. Miss Yu, please calm down. Put down the lighter. If there's anything, let's sit down and talk." Yu Xiao hugged the cooking oil and approached them step by step, forcing them to retreat from the kitchen. The four of them slowly moved to the living room. Yu Xiao poured the cooking oil as she walked. The cooking oil flowed all over the floor. Moreover, it was a wooden floor. If it was lit, it would be difficult to control the fire. Chen Tingfang and the other two's hearts were in their throats. Their minds raced as they tried to think of a way to snatch the lighter from Yu Xiao's hands. "Don't move. All of you don't move." Yu Xiao glanced around threateningly. Other than them, there were also a few servants in the living room who were scared silly. The cowardly ones' legs were trembling as they prayed in their hearts, "Bodhisattva, please protect me." The more courageous and quick-witted ones had already escaped from the villa and anxiously called the police. After calling the police, they didn't know what to do and hid far away. Yu Xiao's gaze fell on Chen Tingfang. She said sternly, "Chen Tingfang, hurry and call Ji Bowen back. No, not just Ji Bowen, but also Ji Yuqi and Ji Yunhan. I want all of you to be buried with my husband." Chen Tingfang was frightened by the lighter in her hand. She quickly said, "Okay, I'll call them right away. Calm down." Under Yu Xiao's threatening gaze, she didn't dare to take the phone from the coffee table. A servant carefully handed the phone to her. After answering the call, Chen Tingfang forced herself to be calm. "When, Bowen, something happened at home. Come back immediately." Ji Bowen pressed his forehead and said helplessly, "What happened?" Chen Tingfang secretly glanced at Yu Xiao. "A guest is looking for you. Come back immediately." "I'm busy right now and can't leave. If it's not an important guest, send him away first." Chen Tingfang was about to cry. Her voice trembled as she said, "It's very important. It's a very important guest. If you don't come back, we'll all die." As soon as she finished speaking, the phone in her hand was snatched away by Yu Xiao. Yu Xiao fiercely threw the phone on the floor. And then, she kicked Chen Tingfang's stomach and scolded, "Who told you to say that? You want Ji Bowen to call the police, right? You want Ji Bowen to call the police, right?" She was in a sorry state. She wanted to get up. Yuxiao. U.S.'s. Her st. Her t's she, t's st's. Teat. Yo, why are you looking at me like that? Are you not convinced? Yuxiao had nowhere to vent the anger in her heart. She just found a way to vent her anger. She raised her foot again and kicked Chen Tingfang. The woman's painful screams instantly resounded in the living room. The others present were worried that they would agitate Yuxiao, so no one dared to say anything. Poor Chen Tingfang could only endure her punches and kicks. As for Ji Bowen, he heard the sound of things being smashed coming from the phone and a woman's angry scolding. He had a bad premonition. He didn't care about the company's affairs and ordered the driver to drive home as fast as possible. Ji Yuqi didn't have classes in the afternoon, so she went home early. Just as she was about to enter the villa, she received a call from Xiao Rou. Xiao Rou sounded very anxious. Yuqi, no matter where you are, don't come home. Jiang Tianhao's mother ran to the villa to cause trouble. She poured oil in the living room and said she was going to set the villa on fire. I escaped with a few other people. We've called the police, but the police haven't arrived yet. Don't come back. Ji Yuqi's heart sank. She quickly asked, Xiao Rou, what's the situation now? How many people are being held hostage? Xiao Rou was so anxious that she was about to cry. Yuxiao seems to be beating Chen Tingfang. I heard Chen Tingfang's screams coming from inside. Other than her, there are 2 security guards and 4 servants. Okay, I got it. Don't worry. Find a safe place and gather the people who escaped. Let's all hide. After saying that, she immediately hung up. She opened the glove compartment and rummaged around inside. She took out a small cloth bag. After opening the bag, she saw rows of silver needles neatly arranged. These silver needles were given to her by Zhao Yao when she was practicing martial arts and learning the acupuncture points of the human body. She didn't expect that they would come in handy today. Ji Yuqi parked the car outside the villa and sneaked into the courtyard. Xiao Rou was hiding in the garden. When she saw her, she anxiously grabbed her hand and whispered, Yuqi, don't go in. It's too dangerous. Ji Yuqi whispered, Don't worry, I'm confident that nothing will happen. Chen Tingfang aside, there are still many innocent people inside. I can't just watch them get into trouble. After saying that, she patted Xiao Rou's hand and walked towards the backyard with determination. First, she turned off the alarm to avoid triggering it and agitating Yuxiao. She couldn't go through the front door. She climbed the ladder to the balcony on the 2nd floor. Then, she entered her room from the balcony. She took off her shoes and casually picked up an antique vase. She quietly walked down the stairs step by step. A few people were standing facing the stairs. The moment they saw her, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. She smiled and put her index finger to her lips, signaling them not to scream. Yuxiao's back was facing the stairs, so she didn't see Ji Yuqi. She was still kicking Chen Tingfang. Even though she was panting from exhaustion, she still hugged the bucket of cooking oil tightly and held the lit lighter tightly. The more quick-witted security guard also saw Ji Yuqi appear. Ji Yuqi signaled him to look at the lighter in Yuxiao's hand. He blinked in understanding and suddenly said, Ms. Ji Yuqi, the lighter in your hand seems to be running out of oil. When Yuxiao heard this, she immediately stopped beating people and instinctively looked at the lighter in her hand. Sure enough, after burning for a long time, there wasn't much oil left. She didn't know if it could last until Ji Bowen returned. She hesitated whether she should turn off the lighter to save oil. However, if she turned it off, she was worried that others would pounce on her and snatch it away. After thinking for a moment, she finally thought of a good idea. She would drench everyone with oil. If they dared to come close to her, she would immediately light up the lighter and throw it at them. Yuxiao pointed in a direction and shouted, All of you, stand over there in a row. Those people stood in a row in fear, not knowing what she was going to do. In the next second they understood. Yuxiao splashed the cooking oil on them like water and threatened sternly, If any of you dare to come close to me, I will immediately light up the lighter and throw it at you. Do you understand? No one dared to resist and nodded submissively. Yuxiao was very satisfied and finally turned off the lighter. The moment the flame disappeared, Ji Yuqi quickly raised her hand and a thin silver needle flew towards Yuxiao's right wrist. The needle pierced the acupuncture point and her entire arm went numb. Her fingers trembled and the lighter fell to the ground with a clang. Yu Xiao sensed that something was wrong and quickly bent down to pick up the lighter. The others were too far away and it was too late for them to snatch it. Ji Yuqi was already prepared. She picked up the antique vase and threw it in Yu Xiao's direction. The vase hit the back of her head and her body swayed before she fell to the ground. Although her vision turned black, she didn't give up and used her hand to rub the floor, trying to pick up the lighter. Ji Yuqi took advantage of the moment she fell to the ground and quickly ran to the living room and kicked the lighter to the living room door. The lighter rolled to Ji Bowen's feet. When Ji Bowen saw the scene in front of him, his heart almost stopped beating. His legs couldn't exert any strength and he kicked the lighter out of the door twice. The lighter flew into the bushes by the side of the road. Immediately after, a group of police officers rushed in. Outside the courtyard, there was a fire engine and an ambulance. Ji Yuqi quietly pulled out the silver needle from Yu Xiao's wrist and put it in her pocket. She smiled brightly at Ji Bowen. "Dad, don't worry. I'm fine." Ji Bowen's expression was ugly. He was silent and walked straight to Ji Yuqi. His heavy eyes stared at her. Worry, fear, heartache, blame, all kinds of complicated emotions intertwined in his eyes. However, due to the presence of outsiders, he couldn't say what he wanted to say. When the policemen saw the situation in front of them, they were all stunned. Ji Yuqi smiled and said, "Officers, the criminal has been subdued. I'll have to trouble you to bring her to the police station." The leading police officer came back to his senses and hurriedly said, "Okay, no problem. Little girl, were you the one who subdued her?" Ji Yuqi smiled mischievously. "Thank you for the compliment, but it was all thanks to the help of that antique vase." The police officer gave a thumbs up. "You're very brave." When Yu Xiao was arrested, she kept shouting that Ji Bowen had killed her husband and that the police should arrest Ji Bowen as well. However, no one paid attention to her and directly sent her to the police car. Chen Tingfang was beaten up by Yu Xiao and had already fainted. 2 medical staff carried her into the ambulance. Ji Bowen and Ji Yuqi also got into the ambulance and accompanied them to the hospital. In the car, the atmosphere was heavy. The medical staff gave Chen Tingfang emergency treatment for her wounds. Although Ji Bowen hated Chen Tingfang, he was also worried about her injuries. The father and daughter were silent for a moment. When they were about to reach the hospital, Ji Bowen looked at Ji Yuqi and said with a straight face, "If something like this happens again in the future, you're not allowed to rush in recklessly. What if an accident happens?" Ji Yuqi shamelessly moved to his side and said softly, "Dad, I know I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again." Ji Bowen said impatiently, "You're always so disobedient. You say you understand, but the next time something like this happens, you'll definitely rush in again." How would his daughter know? When he saw her knocking Yu Xiao to the ground and snatching the lighter, his heart almost jumped out of his chest. Ji Yuqi knew that she couldn't get away with it. She said carefully, "Dad, actually, I've practiced martial arts with Grandpa Zhao Yao. So when I was dealing with Yu Xiao, I was 100% confident that I wouldn't be in danger. Dad, I can't just watch her set the fire. There are so many innocent people in there. I can't just watch her threaten you." If Ji Yuqi didn't snatch the lighter and subdue Yu Xiao, after Ji Yuqi returned home, Yu Xiao would definitely set the house on fire and burn everyone to death. Ji Bowen was silent for a long time. Finally, he sighed heavily and said, "Dad is very happy to see you so brave. However, I'm more worried. You're my daughter. You're the pride of me and your mother. We want to see you safe and happy. Do you understand?" Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 919. Ji Yuqi hurriedly nodded. "Dad, I understand. I'll be more careful in the future. I won't let myself get hurt." Ji Bowen's expression softened a little. He rubbed her hair and said gently, "When did you learn martial arts? You didn't even know about it?" Ji Yuqi playfully stuck out her tongue. "It was last year. Actually, Ahan also learned martial arts. We just wanted to strengthen our bodies and have more ability to protect ourselves. Dad, you won't be angry, right?" Ji Bowen harumphed. "Angry? Of course I'm angry. I'm angry that you two actually did things behind my back. My children have really grown up. They're so scheming. You hide everything from your father." Ji Yuqi hurriedly hugged his arm and shook it to please him. Dad, we were wrong. We won't hide it from you in the future. Ji Bowen wasn't really angry. He was just teasing her. Seeing her eagerness to please him, he couldn't help but laugh. All right. You're already a big girl. You're still so spoiled. You'll make a fool of yourself. She harumphed. Even if I become an old woman, I'll still be a child in Dad's heart. I want to act spoiled with Dad. He tapped her forehead with his finger and scolded in a joking manner. Naughty girl! Chen Tingfang was sent to the city's people's hospital, which was the hospital where Lu Jianfeng was staying. After Lu Jianfeng received the news, he dragged his injured leg and anxiously rushed to Chen Tingfang's ward. He didn't even look at Ji Bowen and his daughter. He rushed to the doctor and asked anxiously, Doctor, how's her condition? Are her injuries serious? The patient has multiple soft tissue injuries. Fortunately, her injuries aren't serious. She'll recover in about half a month. Lu Jianfeng glanced at the unconscious Chen Tingfang. His brows furrowed tightly and his tone was hurried. Since her injuries aren't serious, why hasn't she woken up yet? Have you checked her head? The doctor said helplessly. We've already checked her head. There aren't any injuries. Please don't worry. The patient will wake up in a few hours at most. What about the other areas? Have you checked them all? Of course her injuries aren't serious. Please don't worry. Lu Jianfeng repeatedly asked the doctor to confirm that Chen Tingfang was indeed fine before he let the doctor go. After the doctor left, he immediately vented his anger on Ji Bowen and said with a livid face, How did you take care of Tingfang? How did she get hurt so badly? Ji Yuqi really wanted to roll her eyes. This was clearly an accident. Yet Lu Jianfeng was blaming her father. If he wasn't looking for trouble, then what was? Ji Bowen didn't look too good either. He said slowly, Yu Xiao barged into the house and held Tingfang hostage. The injuries on her body were also caused by Yu Xiao. Lu Jianfeng said coldly, Is your Ji family security system just for show? You actually let someone barge into the house. Ji Bowen's face was extremely ugly after being lectured by an outsider in front of his daughter. He clenched his fists and was about to say something when Ji Yuqi stood up. She raised her chin and said righteously, Uncle Lu, you've gone too far. I know that you're worried about Auntie Chen because of her injuries, but please don't take out your anger on my father. It was indeed the security system's negligence to let Yu Xiao barge into the house. However, I've asked the security guards and they said that they had already subdued Yu Xiao and were going to chase her out of the courtyard. It was Auntie Chen who ordered them to let go of Yu Xiao, which caused her to barge into the villa. Auntie Chen is injured, so she should also bear a part of the responsibility. She shouldn't push all the blame onto my father. Don't you think so, Uncle Lu? Her words were clear and the main points were clear. Even the furious Lu Jianfeng had to admit that what she said made sense. However, he obviously couldn't swallow his pride and admit his mistake. Instead, he sternly asked, Do you have the right to interrupt when your elders are talking? Ji Yuqi smiled faintly and said indifferently, If the term elder means that you can't differentiate right from wrong, good from evil, then I really don't agree. Those light words slapped Lu Jianfeng hard in the face. He had heard from Tingfang that Ji Bowen's daughter had a sharp tongue and wasn't easy to get along with. He didn't take it to heart, but now he realized that she wasn't simple. He hated her even more. Lu Jianfeng's deep black eyes stared fixedly at Ji Yuqi. She smiled faintly and calmly welcomed him. The two of them were in a deadlock. Ji Bowen coughed and pretended to reprimand her. Chi-Chi, how can you speak to Uncle Lu like that? Don't you have classes in the afternoon? Hurry up and go to school. Ji Yuqi knew that her father was looking for a way out for Lu Jianfeng. She shrugged and sweetly said, Okay, I got it. Dad, I'll go to school then. Uncle Lu, I'll take my leave first. Bye-bye. Lu Jianfeng's face darkened and he nodded. After Ji Yuqi left, the atmosphere in the room froze again. Lu Jianfeng moved his legs and sat on the chair in front of the bed. He seemed to be waiting there for Chen Tingfang to wake up. Ji Bowen couldn't chase him away, so he helplessly frowned. While Chen Tingfang was recuperating, Yu Xiao was locked up in the detention center. She admitted to trespassing and kidnapping. At the same time, she proposed to sue Ji Bowen for causing her husband's death. However, because the statute of limitations had expired, the court didn't accept the case. She was clamoring to see Ji Bowen. In the reception room, Ji Bowen and Yu Xiao sat across from each other through a thick glass window. Yu Xiao glared hatefully at the man across the glass and said sternly, "Ji Bowen, you're lucky that I didn't burn you to death. Even if I die and become a ghost, I won't let you off. I won't let anyone from the Ji family off." Ji Bowen sighed. "Yu Xiao, why do you hate me so much? Why do you hate the Ji family so much?" Yu Xiao gritted her teeth and said, "You're still playing dumb. You stole the company back then and caused Zhan Yao's death. Tianhao and I were forced to live in the countryside and suffered for decades. Now, your stepdaughter caused Tianhao to be sentenced to prison. His life was ruined by the Ji family. Who else would I hate if not you? Let me tell you, Ji Bowen, God is watching. You'll suffer retribution." Ji Bowen stared at her in disbelief. After a while he said, "You're saying that I caused Zhan Yao's death? Well, you're still playing dumb. Back then, Zhan Yao started a company with you. In order to monopolize the company, you set him up and chased him out of the company. Later, Zhan Yao tried to start another company. After he failed, he went to look for you and wanted to return to G Group to work. But what about you? Not only did you not help him because of your years of friendship, you even got someone to kill him with a car. Ji Bowen, you're so black-hearted. How can you sleep after so many years? Have you never dreamed of Zhen Yao?" Ji Bowen was shocked. He looked at Yu Xiao as if she was crazy. Her wrinkled cheeks were distorted by anger and looked even more terrifying. He was silent for a long time. Then, he slowly shook his head and said in a deep voice, "I didn't expect you to misunderstand me so deeply. It seems that there are some things that I can't hide from you anymore." After the conversation, Yu Xiao's face was full of tears. Her eyes were lifeless and she muttered, "I don't believe you. You must be lying." Looking at her figure being taken away by the prison guards, Ji Bowen sighed heavily. He didn't expect that a well-intentioned lie would cause such an irreversible situation. If he had known, he wouldn't have hidden it for Zhang Zhenyao. "Dad, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Ji Yuqi stepped into the living room and found that her father had come home early. He sat on the sofa in silence and didn't look very good. Ji Bowen came back to his senses. He pinched his eyebrows and said in a tired voice, "I'm fine. I just remembered some things from the past and felt a little emotional." Ji Yuqi walked behind him and massaged his shoulders. She said softly, "Dad, when you visited Yu Xiao in the detention center today, did she say something to you? Last time when she was arrested, she said that you killed her husband. Who is her husband? Is that true?" This question had been lingering in her heart for a long time. Today, she finally had the chance to ask. Ji Bowen didn't hide it from her. He slowly said, "Then we'll have to start from 20 years ago." The story wasn't long, but it was shocking. Ji Yuqi finally understood why Jiang Tianhao in her previous life was so ruthless against the Ji family, against her and Han. She always thought that Jiang Tianhao was after money, but now she knew that he was after revenge. Different prisons, different visiting rooms, and different people visiting them. Ji Yuqi looked at the man on the other side of the glass. He used to be high-spirited and gentle, but now he was haggard. In addition, there were a few long scars on his cheeks because of the special care his companions gave him in prison. He looked down and out. Jiang Tianhao was also looking at her. She was even more beautiful than the last time they met. Her jade-like face, cold and elegant expression, was still elegant and noble. He bitterly opened his mouth and said in a hoarse and unpleasant voice, "I didn't expect you to come visit me, Yuqi." Ji Yuqi looked at him coldly and said indifferently, "I'm here to tell you some truths. Before I tell you, please answer me a question. You hate the Ji family, right?" Jiang Tianhao was shocked. "Why do you ask? That means you hate them. Haha, how interesting. Jiang Tianhao, you hate the Ji family and my father because my father stole your father's company and killed your father, right? How do you know? It's simple. I found out the truth. I want to tell you what the real truth is." Ji Yuqi unfolded a piece of paper beside her and pasted it on the glass. She said in a low voice, "Open your eyes and take a good look. Your father's signature is on this piece of paper. He personally agreed to transfer the entire company to my father for a price of 1 million. Jiang Tianhao carefully read the document and found that it was indeed his father who proposed it. He said unwillingly, Ji Bowen must have dug a trap for my father to jump into. Otherwise, how could he sell the shares for 1 million? Ji Yuqi sneered. You think 1 million is too cheap, don't you? Then, what if you add this IOU for 5 million? She took another piece of paper and pasted the side with the words on it on the glass, so that he could see it clearly. She continued, this IOU was personally written by Zhang Zhenyao. Due to his greed for fame, he was schemed against and owed the other party $5 million. In order to help him pay off this debt, my father went to all the banks in Ing City and used the company as collateral to get a loan of $6 million. $5 million was used to pay off the debt, and the remaining $1 million was given to your father to buy his shares. Attention, Xinwu 799. Chapter 920. Zhang Zhenyao almost caused the company to go bankrupt. If it weren't for my dad's efforts to turn the situation around, would there still be G Group today? My dad helped him keep this secret for the sake of his longtime friend so that he could maintain his dignity in front of his wife and children and not embarrass himself in front of his employees. I didn't expect that because of this, you would misunderstand that it was my dad who snatched the shares from your father's hands. What a joke. What? Not only did his father almost cause the collapse of G Group, but he also withdrew his investment and ran away on his own during the most difficult time? No, this can't be true. Jiang Tianhao's eyes were about to split open. He suppressed his anger and roared, That's impossible. You made this up. Ji Yuqi curled her lips in disdain. Something that you've always believed in suddenly collapsed. You couldn't accept reality, so you hypnotized yourself and said that all of this was fake. Jiang Tianhao, can you be any more useless? Jiang Tianhao was like a trapped beast. He grabbed his hair angrily and roared angrily. He didn't believe that all of this was fake. He suddenly jumped up agitatedly and rushed to the front of the glass. He shouted anxiously, There's also a car accident. Ji Bowen caused the car accident and caused my dad's death. Ji Yuqi sneered. My dad caused the car accident? Jiang Tianhao, do you have a brain? Your dad drank too much and ran into the road by himself. He was hit by a truck and died. The police even made a statement at that time. If you don't believe me, we can go to the police station and check the file. No, I don't believe it, I don't believe it. Jiang Tianhao roared emotionally. Ji Yuqi looked at him coldly and criticized him mercilessly and sharply. You obviously have doubts, but you still don't want to believe it. That's because you treat revenge as your life's goal. You refuse to admit that you wasted 20 years of your youth to hate an enemy that doesn't even exist. Jiang Tianhao, you really are a failure. I look down on you. Jiang Tianhao was mercilessly reprimanded by her. He held his head tightly with both hands and trembled all over. He suddenly felt that he was ridiculous. Since he was young, his mother had told him that Ji Bowen had killed his father. She also said that the truck driver had been bribed by Ji Bowen. He believed it without a doubt. Even when he asked for details and his mother couldn't explain it clearly, he never doubted it. He just thought that his mother couldn't remember it clearly. As he grew older because of his poverty, he suffered a lot of hardships and received many supercilious looks from people. He attributed all these hardships to his lack of a father. Thus, he hated Ji Bowen more and more. He wanted to take revenge on the Ji family and take back his property. This became his motivation to live. He didn't dare to question it. He was afraid that if things weren't as he thought, then what would he rely on to survive? Step by step, he approached Ji Yuqi and Yi Zixu. In his countless acting sessions, he wore all kinds of masks until he forgot his original appearance. When he turned around, he found that he had gained nothing but scars all over his body. Even his one and only love had long been buried by his own hands. Hot tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. They fell onto his pants and quickly seeped into the fabric. After a long silence, he slowly raised his head. His deep-set eyes were red as he stared deeply at Ji Yuqi. Yuqi, have you ever loved me? Ji Yuqi's eyes narrowed slightly. She suddenly remembered the time when she fell off the cliff in her previous life. Her fingers clung onto the railing as her body hung in mid-air. She asked him in despair why he wanted to harm her when she clearly loved him so much. At that time, he looked down at her from above and sneered, Don't you understand? I've never loved you. Pulling herself out of her memories, Ji Yuqi suddenly laughed out loud. She laughed so hard that tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. She slowly stood up and looked down at Zhang Tianhao on the other side of the glass. She sneered and said, "Don't you understand? I've never loved you." This was what he owed her in her previous life. In this life, she was finally returning it to him. Zhang Tianhao's body trembled. He was like an eggplant that had been hit by frost. His face was ashen and lifeless. "You've never loved me? Not even a tiny bit?" His voice sounded as if it came from a broken flute. It was bleak and unpleasant to the ears. She said coldly, "No. So you're also acting?" "Yes, since you've never given your heart, what right do you have to ask others to give their heart?" Ji Yuqi's cold eyes slid across his cheeks. After throwing down these words, she left behind a proud and cold back view and walked away resolutely. Zhang Tianhao stared at her back view in a daze. After a long time he said in a low voice, "But I loved you." The fog was confusing. He couldn't see the direction clearly and couldn't see the surroundings clearly. He walked aimlessly in the fog alone. He had a thought in his mind that he was looking for something, but he couldn't remember what it was that he was looking for. Suddenly, a gust of wind came from nowhere and blew away the thick fog around him. He stood there in a daze and found that he was standing beside a crystal-clear river. On the calm surface of the river, familiar scenes were reflected. On a cold winter day, he pushed her into the lake and rescued her with his own hands. Under the falling leaves, the girl smiled shyly. "Senior Tianhao, thank you for saving me from the lake." At the entrance of the ladies' room, the girl was drenched from head to toe. Her wet hair stuck to her pale face. She said in tears, "Senior, Gu Fifan and I are innocent. I don't know what happened at the ball. Please believe me." On her 21st birthday, she was almost molested by Chen Yifei. He saved her and let everyone see the embarrassing scene between them. From then on, he became her fiancé. At Zhu Zhu's birthday party, everyone saw her and Gu Fifan hugging each other with their clothes disheveled. She tried to explain herself, but no one was willing to listen. Madame Zhu scolded her for being shameless and chased her out of the party. He left with her and was very gentle. At that moment, her heart and eyes only had him. Ji Bowen was completely disappointed in her and allowed her to enter G Group. When she was 23, he found out that the eldest young master of Shin Group liked her. He was afraid that she would fall in love with someone else, so he listened to Yi Zisu's suggestion and ruined her. Without her beautiful face, would Shenjia still like her? When she was 24, they got married and he was promoted to manager of G Group as he wished. That same year, he wanted to bribe Jean Mingyao and personally sent her to Jean Mingyao's bed. On the first anniversary of their wedding, she transferred 10% of her shares to him. He took over Ji Bowen's position as CEO, and Ji Bowen died in a car accident. On the second anniversary of their wedding, she had lost her value. He and Yi Zisu personally pushed her off the cliff. The moment she fell off the cliff, she screamed like a ghost, "Zhang Tianhao, I hate you. You adulterous couple. You'll die a horrible death." The images kept changing, real, fake, happy, painful. It was like an old movie that was spread out in front of his eyes. Finally, the calm river suddenly became turbulent. A violent storm swept him into the rolling waves, and a rapidly spinning whirlpool dragged him into the endless darkness. Zhang Tianhao woke up screaming. In the huge prison cell, there was only the sound of the television broadcasting the news. The news said that Ying City had welcomed a new leader, Lu Jianfeng. The host talked non-stop about Lu Jianfeng's past achievements. The prisoners sitting in front of the television complained impatiently, "Damn it, it looks like there's only this stupid news." The noisy voices and the voices in the dream kept mixing and separating. Zhang Tianhao held his head uneasily. He didn't know if this was reality or a dream. He didn't even know if he was living in reality or in a dream. Zhang Tianhao went crazy. He was like Xiangling's wife, pulling everyone in the prison cell and repeating the same sentence tirelessly. "I'm the CEO of G Group, I'm the CEO of G Group." F***CK, are you crazy? If you're the CEO of G Group, I'm the leader of Ying City. F***CK, crazy man, ignore him. A burly man kicked him away. He was sent flying to the corner of the wall. He curled up in the corner and kept muttering, "I'm the CEO of G Group, I'm the CEO of G Group. The prison hired a professional psychiatrist to examine Jiang Tianhao. In the end, it was confirmed that he had gone crazy. He was sent to a mental hospital to live out the rest of his life. After Lu Jianfeng recovered from his injuries, he received a transfer order. He was now the leader of Ying City. He took up the position alone and left his wife and son in Hanqing. Because his son, Lu Tianhao, was about to take the college entrance examination, in order not to affect his son's studies, he let him continue to study in his original school. His wife stayed in Hanqing to take care of him. He lived alone in the family building of the municipal compound. Chen Tingfang would visit him every 2 days to help him do the laundry and cook. She also bought vegetables and fruits to put in the fridge in case he needed them. Every time this happened, he would sit on the sofa and read the newspaper while Chen Tingfang would be busy in the kitchen. Occasionally, she would poke her head out to talk to him. He had an illusion that the two of them were husband and wife. Just as the word husband and wife appeared in his mind, he immediately pushed it back down. He looked away nervously, afraid that she would discover the secret he had hidden deep in his heart. "Cousin, my apron strap has loosened. Help me fasten it." Her smiling voice came from the kitchen. His heart suddenly contracted and he almost jumped up from the sofa. His fingers suddenly tightened around the newspaper. He took a deep breath and said slowly, "Wait, I'll be right there." She stood in front of the kitchen counter with an egg beater in her hand. She quickly stirred the eggs in the bowl. Under the soft light, her side profile was gentle and beautiful. He couldn't help but reach out and move closer to her white cheeks. She suddenly turned around and smiled. "Cousin, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and help me fasten my apron." His hand that was in mid-air stiffly changed its trajectory and slowly slid down to the strap of her apron. His fingers inadvertently touched her waist. Her body trembled and she giggled. "You're so annoying. You know that I'm ticklish." Her smile was like a flower. Her well-maintained skin was as bright as a prostitute's. He couldn't help but feel his throat tighten. His fingers clenched tightly and he slowly took a step back to put some distance between them. He said in a hoarse voice, "If there's nothing else, I'll go out first." He was afraid that if he stayed any longer, he wouldn't be able to resist pouncing on her. "Okay, you go out first. I'm going to start cooking now." Chen Tingfang didn't notice his strange behavior. She buried her head and beat the eggs. When his footsteps faded away, she suddenly thought of something. She looked up and called out, "Cousin?" "What?" He stopped and turned around to look at her. His dark eyes were like the sky before a storm. "I brought red wine over. It's in the fridge. Help me take it out." "Okay." Under the soft light, the mellow red wine, and the person sitting facing him, the atmosphere was very good. Unknowingly, Lu Jianfeng drank 2 glasses of wine. When he put down the glass, he found that Chen Tingfang was already drunk. Her cheeks were red and her eyes were blurred. She was half lying on the table, looking at the wine bottle and giggling. Lu Jianfeng's heart softened. He used his hand to tuck her hair behind her ear and said gently, "What are you thinking of that made you smile so happily? Come and see." Hongcha 866. Chapter 921. His fingers were cool and comfortable. She rubbed her burning face against his fingers, and he quickly retracted his hand as though he had been electrocuted. His heartbeat quickened. She didn't seem to notice it. She narrowed her eyes and muttered, "We haven't drunk like this in a long time." "Yeah, it's been a long time." He stared at her, and his gaze gradually became heated. He said slowly, "Tingfang? HM?" She propped her head up and looked at him with a dazed gaze. "Nothing." His throat tightened, and he suddenly stood up. "I'm going to the washroom." He quickly walked into the washroom and splashed his face with cold water, trying to extinguish the fire in his heart. However, the water was like gasoline. Not only did it not extinguish the fire, but it also made it burn more fiercely. Her figure also became clearer in his mind. He suddenly turned on the shower head and drenched himself from head to toe with cold water. When he came out of the washroom, it was already 10 minutes later. Chen Tingfang was sprawled on the dining table, completely drunk. She was still mumbling something incoherently. He shook his head helplessly and dotingly. He shook her shoulders. "Tingfang, wake up. I'll take you home. She muttered impatiently. No. Forget it. Staying over for a night occasionally wasn't a big deal. He would just give Ji Bowen a call later. Lu Jianfeng first went back to his room to change his clothes, then picked her up and put her on the bed in the guest room. He took off her shoes and pulled the quilt over her body. Just as he was about to get up and leave, a hand suddenly grabbed his clothes, and then a soft body pressed against his arm. Ihan, I missed you so much. Ihan. She leaned on his arm and sobbed. Lu Jianfeng was angry and jealous. Who was Ihan? She had never mentioned him to him. That man named Ihan was actually hidden deep in her heart. He was going crazy with jealousy. He suddenly grabbed her wrist and asked with an ashen face. Who is Ihan? What's your relationship with him? She was so drunk that she couldn't understand what he was saying, let alone answer his question. She just hugged him tightly and called out, Ihan. Oh, it's so hot. Ihan, let go of me. I'm so hot. Ting Feng, don't move. Lu Jianfeng was about to go crazy from her torture. When she struggled, the buttons in front of her chest were pushed open, revealing her snow-white skin and a faintly discernible cleavage. The flame in his heart was ignited once again, burning his rationality. Ihan, I miss you. I want you. Women were like wolves in their 30s and tigers in their 40s. Chen Tingfeng had been dry for so long. After being numbed by the alcohol, her body was filled with a strong desire. She was like a seductive vixen as she wrapped herself around his body. Her hands were on his body, and her lips kissed his firm chest. Hiss. He sucked in a breath of cold air. His whole body was tense, and all his blood was rushing to the top of his head. The beast in his heart was roaring wildly, wanting to suppress her. However, the remnants of reason in his brain kept reminding him that he couldn't. That was evil, that was disgusting. Ting Feng, don't mess around anymore. The veins on Lu Jianfeng's forehead throbbed. In the end, he held it in. He grabbed her hand and pulled her away from his body. He wrapped her tightly in the blanket and left the room in a sorry state as if he was fleeing for his life. After the hangover, he had a splitting headache. Chen Tingfeng rubbed her forehead and opened the bedroom door. When she saw a man and a woman sitting opposite each other in the living room, she was stunned. She hurriedly tidied up her messy hair and clothes and smiled awkwardly. Cousin-in-law, when did you come? Sitting opposite Lu Jianfeng was his wife, Wu Shuyi. She used a tissue to wipe the corners of her eyes. Her eyes were red, and she forced a smile. I just arrived this morning. When I came, Jianfeng said that you were sleeping, so I didn't wake you up. Chen Tingfeng noticed that Wu Shuyi should have cried, and her cousin's expression was very ugly. The atmosphere between them was a little strange. She tactfully said, I'm really sorry. I slept too late last night and accidentally woke up late. Cousin-in-law, take your time talking. I'll go wash up first. Wu Shuyi nodded. When she entered the bathroom, she turned her gaze and met Lu Jianfeng's eyes again. She said softly, Jianfeng, what should we do about Tianhao? I'm so scared. She choked on her sobs and tears started to fall again. Lu Jianfeng's brows were tightly knitted. He said in a low voice, Has it been diagnosed? She nodded. I've already asked a specialist to examine it. The diagnosis is acute leukemia. If he doesn't undergo special treatment, he only has half a year to live. At this point, she was already sobbing. She covered her mouth with her right hand and tried her best to control herself. The doctor said that a bone marrow transplant is the best treatment. However, in the bone marrow bank, they couldn't find a bone marrow match for Tianhao. This news was like a bolt from the blue to Lu Jianfeng. His son had been smart and healthy since he was young. How could he have acute leukemia? He really didn't want to believe it. However, the medical report was right in front of him. He had no choice but to believe it. He was silent for a long time. He reached out and put his arm around her shoulder. He said hoarsely, Shuyi, you go back to Hanqing today and handle the procedures for Tianhao's suspension. I'll go back tomorrow and transfer Tianhao to Ying City's city hospital. Ying City is the provincial capital after all. The medical standards there are better than Hanqing. Moreover, it's easier for me to take care of you and your son. Okay. Wu Shuyi leaned into his arms and cried softly. Chen Tingfang stood at the bathroom door. The door was opened slightly and she happened to hear their conversation. Knowing that Lu Tianhao was seriously ill, she also felt terrible. She stood there for a long time until the crying stopped. Then, she pretended that she didn't know anything and walked out with a normal expression. "Cousin-in-law, it's rare for you to come to Ying City. Let's have lunch together." Wu Shuyi's eyes were still a little red, but her emotions had returned to normal. She smiled and said, "I still have something to do. I have to rush back to Hongqing this afternoon. We'll have plenty of chances to have lunch together in the future." Lu Jianfeng glanced at Chen Tingfang and said, "Shuyi, Tingfang is not an outsider. You don't have to hide Lil Hao's illness from her." Chen Tingfang pretended that she didn't know anything. She looked surprised and asked, "What's wrong with Lil Hao?" Wu Shuyi turned her head away. Her eyes were filled with tears again. Lu Jianfeng said slowly, "Lil Hao is sick. He has acute leukemia and needs a bone marrow transplant. I plan to transfer him to Ying City's People's Hospital." Bone marrow transplant? Have you found a bone marrow match? Not yet. But I believe that we will find one. Lil Hao will be fine. Yes, Lil Hao will be fine. Cousin-in-law, don't worry too much. Everything will be fine. Chen Tingfang sat beside Wu Shuyi and patted the back of her hand. "I hope so." During the prison visit, Chen Tingfang told Yi Zissou about Lu Tianhao's illness. Yi Zissou immediately suggested a blood test to see if her bone marrow was a match with Lu Tianhao's. After all, they were close relatives. Perhaps they could be a match. Soon, the prison approved her blood test. Lu Jianfeng, his wife, and Chen Tingfang were all looking forward to the test. They hoped that it would be a match. However, things didn't go according to their wishes. The test results showed that their bone marrow match was less than 5 points. This meant that the success rate of the surgery was very low. Lu Jianfeng didn't dare to let his son take the risk unless it was absolutely necessary. He thought that there would be a way to find a bone marrow match for his son. Wu Shuyi burst into tears. All her relatives and friends had done blood tests. Their bone marrow match with Lil Hao's bone marrow was less than 5%. Lil Hao was still so young. Was there really no hope? Yi Zissou was also very sad. After spending a few months in prison, she clearly understood the value of life. Lil Hao was still so young. She looked at the test report in her hand and sighed dejectedly. "It would be great if I could get my friends to do the test. Oh, and Uncle Ji and Yuqi. At least there's more hope." Chen Tingfang's eyes lit up. She suddenly remembered that Ji Bowen was very concerned about his family's health. Every May, he would organize a full body checkup for his family members. Even the servants of the Ji family had the right to a free checkup. If she persuaded him to do the checkup in advance, it should be fine. That night at dinner, Chen Tingfang said with a smile, "Bowen, I've been feeling tired lately. I plan to do a full body checkup. Ahan and Yuqi haven't had a checkup in a long time. When are you free? Let's go together." Ji Yuqi looked up at her and said slowly, "Auntie Chen, we used to have a checkup in May. This year, I plan to do it again." Ji Yunhan raised his hand. "I plan to do it in May too. 2 months in advance is nothing. Bowen, you should also have a checkup. During this period of time, your complexion is not very good." Ji Bowen glanced at her and wanted to say that his complexion was not good because too many things had happened at home. After thinking about it, he held back. He wiped the corner of his mouth with a napkin and said, "In that case, let's do the checkup in advance this year. Butler, make an appointment with the hospital. It's best if it's a day off." "Yes, master." Chen Tingfang was very happy that she had achieved her goal. She poured a bowl of soup for Ji Bowen and was very attentive. Ji Yuqi's brows furrowed, but they quickly relaxed. She used the spoon to slowly stir the hot soup in the bowl, trying to guess what she was up to again. What? Vice President Qing had gastric bleeding and was sent to the hospital? Ji Yuqi received a call from her secretary. She was so angry that her face turned green. She took Shenja's hand and walked quickly to the car. She suppressed her anger and said, "Aja, I'm going to the hospital to visit Qing Sang. That idiot Qing Sang actually had gastric bleeding because of her business partner. If she has a bad stomach, she should drink less. How could she be so honest?" Shenja opened the car door for her and said calmly, "Don't worry. She has always been in good health. It's just gastric bleeding. She won't die. Come and see. Song Shu 566. Chapter 922. Ji Yuqi buckled her seatbelt and said suspiciously, "Aja, you don't seem very happy." Shenzhe gestured for Aze, who was sitting in the driver's seat, to start the car. Then he rubbed Yuqi's hair and said expressionlessly, "Correction, I am very unhappy." "Why? Qing Sang is my friend and also your subordinate. It's reasonable for us to care about her." Ji Yuqi felt that it was necessary to teach him about the ways of the world. If a person was too cold, he would lack friends and feel lonely. She didn't want Shenzhe to feel lonely. Shenzhe said seriously, "Because you're jealous. You care more about her than you care about me." "Hey, I'm not. I'm also very concerned about you." Ji Yuqi pouted, feeling wronged. She had been wrongly accused. "I came to your school from the company hungry because I wanted to have lunch with you. But after you heard that Qing Sang was sick, you forgot about me." He stated the truth seriously. Ji Yuqi felt guilty. "I'm sorry. It's my fault. If you're hungry, let's go eat first and then go to the hospital, okay?" He patted her head like he was comforting an uneasy pet. "Let's go to the hospital to see Qing Sang first. Otherwise, you'll be distracted when you eat." He knew her character very well. She bit her lip. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and her cheeks bloomed with a bright smile. "Wait a minute. I have something for you." She put her handbag on her lap, unzipped it, and rummaged through the bag. Finally, she took out 2 bags of snacks, a bag of biscuits, and a chocolate bar. She handed them to him as if she was presenting a treasure. She smiled happily and said, "Here, these are my snacks. They can fill your stomach." Shenzhe looked away in disgust. "I never eat this kind of junk food. It's okay to eat it once in a while. It's delicious. I'm not lying." She quickly opened the bag, picked up a piece of biscuit with jam and fed it to him. She coaxed him like she was coaxing a child. "Ah! Open your mouth. Good boy, open it quickly." Shenzhe was speechless. "Do you think I'm a child? Even children aren't as picky as you. Young Master Shin, please eat a little. I'll be very sad if you starve yourself. Please, please." She almost climbed on top of him, one hand on his chest, the other holding the biscuit to his mouth, a pair of beautiful eyes quickly blinking, like the bright stars in the sky. His face was dark. "Feed me." Okay, open your mouth." "It's not like that with your mouth, feed it." She was blushing. S's lips. Then he bit by bit until her fingers finger her fingers. She blushed and whispered, "Stop fooling around. Aze is still here." Aze didn't hear or see anything. His eyes were focused in front of him. As a competent bodyguard and killer, he was very professional. He absolutely didn't see or hear anything indecent. Listen, that didn't seem to be something he could control. Ji Yuqi was very worried about Qing Sang. She thought she would see her lying weakly on the hospital bed. In fact, she was leaning against the bed, with one hand on an 4-drip and the other handling company documents. A thick stack of documents was neatly placed beside her. Even when she heard someone come in, she didn't raise her head. "Stop persuading me to rest. If you keep nagging, go back immediately," she said coldly. Oh, even if she was sick, the queen was still the queen. Her aura was strong and imposing. Ji Yuqi couldn't help but laugh. She approached her in her high heels. "Queen Qing Sang, who are you angry with? Don't tell me it's Yu Lei?" Yu Lei was the only one who could make her so uneasy. Speaking of which, Yu Lei was really a weirdo. No matter how many times Qing Sang rejected him, he still pounced on her and wouldn't let her go. Speak of the devil. Yu Lei walked over with a lunchbox in his hand. He laughed heartily and said, "What are you talking about?" As a partner of Free Company, he knew Ji Yuqi, the boss behind the scenes. He also heard about her relationship with young Master Shin. So, he smiled and nodded at the two of them. Then, he turned his gaze to Qing Sang. Obviously, he wanted Qing Sang to answer his question. Qing Sang put down the documents in her hand and said coldly, "I said if you disturb my work again, I'll throw you out." Ji Yuqi face-bombed. She couldn't bear to look at the queen's aura. Brother Yulei, hang in there. She thought Yulei would be frustrated. She didn't expect him to turn from a sunny guy to a loyal dog in the next second. His invisible tail wagged behind him, and he smiled cutely. Ah Sang. You're the most charming when you're working. But if you don't eat, you won't have the energy to work. So, put your work aside and eat first. We have your favorite vegetable porridge today. Ji Yuqi widened her eyes. She learned something today. Qing Sang pushed away his hand that was about to help her. She said coldly, "Don't touch me. Ah Sang, don't misunderstand. I just want to help you. Go away. Don't give me that despicable look." Ah Sang, don't you think I'm cute like this? I've been practicing in front of the mirror for a week. Cute? Please don't insult the word cute. Ah Sang, you're so heartless. Sob sob sob. The two people in the room bickered as if there was no one else around. Ji Yuqi felt that she was particularly unnecessary. Shenja stood beside her and said in a low voice, "See? She's doing very well. You can rest assured now." "Yeah, as long as Qing Sang is fine. Let's go. Don't disturb them." Ji Yuqi smiled wickedly and secretly held Shenja's hand. They had already walked to the door when Qing Sang suddenly said, Boss, thank you for coming to see me. I'm fine." Ji Yuqi didn't expect Qing Sang to thank them personally. She raised her eyebrows and smiled. She turned her head and teased, "With Yulei taking care of you, we can rest assured. Rest well. You can rest for as long as you want." Qing Song's face darkened. "Don't put me together with him." Yulei beamed. "Thank you, Miss Ji. Ah Sang will go back to work when she recovers." Qing Sang glared at him. "Hey, if you don't speak, no one will think you're mute." What did he mean by Ah Sang? She was her. It had nothing to do with him. Ji Yuqi laughed loudly. They really were a pair of quarrelsome lovers. "I can see that Yulei really likes Qing Sang. Unfortunately, Qing Sang doesn't like him," Ji Yuqi said softly to Shenja in the corridor with their fingers interlocked. Shenja held her hand tightly. It's not that Qing Sang doesn't have feelings for Yulei. It's just that she's used to being cold and doesn't know how to get along with others. Just like when he first fell in love with her, he was a little flustered and a little helpless. He didn't know how to like someone. Ji Yuqi looked up at him and smiled. "I really hope they can be happy together." Maybe they will. As long as Yulei continued to pester her, Qing Sang would be captured by him sooner or later. After entering the elevator, Ji Yuqi saw the door of the office closest to the elevator open. A tall and straight man walked out holding a little girl's hand. Behind them was a doctor in a white coat. The man put on his sunglasses and nodded at the doctor. "Dr. Han, thank you for your hard work." "You're welcome. This is what I should do. Please take care." The elevator door closed slowly, blocking Ji Yuqi's line of sight. She narrowed her eyes slightly, and the corners of her lips curved into a cold smile. It was Lu Jianfeng. What was he doing at the hospital? A black car stopped by the side of the road. Lu Jianfeng, dressed in a black suit, held the little girl's hand and walked to the front of the car. When he opened the door, the little girl looked up and said with anticipation, "Uncle, I'm very obedient today. Can I go to the amusement park to play?" Lu Jianfeng bent down and picked her up. A faint smile appeared on his face. "Uncle is not free today. Next time." "Oh." Although it was a pity, the little girl nodded obediently and said sweetly, "As long as I can see Uncle every day, even if I don't go to the amusement park, I'll be very happy." "Good girl." He kissed her on the cheek, put her in the passenger seat and buckled her seatbelt. Ji Yuqi sat in Shenja's car and watched the car in front of her drive away. She frowned slightly. That little girl looked at most 8 years old. What was her relationship with Lu Jianfeng? Why did he bring her to the hospital? Shenja glanced at the disappearing car. "If you're curious, let Liang Yu check it out." Okay. On Saturday, Ji Bowen took the whole family to the hospital for a physical examination. The doctor at the reception was an old acquaintance of the Ji family. He chatted and laughed and easily completed the full-body examination. 3 days later, the hospital sent the medical report to the Ji family. Chen Tingfeng had told the housekeeper to send the medical report to her as soon as he received it, so she was the first to open the envelope. There was a thick stack of medical reports inside. She looked through them carefully and finally found a different one. It was a bone marrow match analysis. The list showed that the bone marrow of everyone in the Ji family was compatible with Lu Tianhao's bone marrow. The highest match was Ji Yunhan, as high as 80%. Chen Tingfeng's eyes shone with ecstasy. Her fingers trembled as she held the thin piece of paper. After a minute, she suppressed the excitement in her heart and quickly put everyone's medical reports into an envelope. Then, she used a lighter to burn the results of the match and turned it into ashes. Her fingers trembled slightly and she dialed Lu Jianfeng's number. "Hello, cousin. Let me tell you a piece of good news. Ji Yunhan and Xiao Hao's bone marrow match is 80%. Xiao Hao can finally undergo a bone marrow transplant." Lu Jianfeng was also very excited. His knuckles turned white as he held the phone. He sounded anxious. "Is that true?" Chen Tingfeng's eyes reddened. She nodded and said, "It's true, cousin. Hurry up and tell cousin-in-law and Xiao Hao this good news." "Tingfeng, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done." His voice was low and full of gratitude. "Cousin, you don't have to be so polite. We're family." After ending the call, Chen Tingfeng let out a long sigh of relief. Previously, she had discussed with her cousin and bribed the person in charge of the medical report to do a HLA test on everyone in the Ji family. The results showed that Ji Yunhan and Xiao Hao's bone marrow match was the highest. Now, the most important thing was how to persuade Ji Yunhan to donate his bone marrow. When Chen Tingfeng thought of this problem, her head started to hurt. Previously, she had shed all pretense of cordiality with Ji Yuqi and her brother, and had done many things to hurt them. Now that she wanted to ask Ji Yunhan for help, she was afraid that they wouldn't agree. She thought about it and finally decided to test it out first. That night, after dinner, Chen Tingfeng took out the medical report and handed it to everyone one by one. After confirming that everyone was healthy, she let out a sigh of relief and sighed. "I saw the news this afternoon. It said that a young man had acute leukemia and needed a bone marrow transplant. His parents and brother had their bone marrow matched and the results showed that the two brothers were a high match. At first, the young man's brother was willing to give him a bone marrow transplant, but later, his brother chickened out and the doctor had no choice but to transplant his father's bone marrow to him. In the end, the bone marrow transplant failed and the young man had a very serious rejection reaction. He died in less than 2 months. Ji Bowen had seen the fickleness of human nature and sighed. In today's society, the relationship between siblings is very thin. Ji Yunhan raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Dad, you don't have to use this matter to educate Sis and me. We definitely won't be like that pair of brothers. If Sis needs it, let alone bone marrow, even if it's my cornea or kidney, I will donate it to her without hesitation. I think it's the same for you, sister. Am I right, sister?" Ji Yuqi slapped him on the head. "Bah! Children's words carry no harm. Hurry up and spit out your saliva." Ji Yunhan smiled mischievously and did not look serious. "What are you afraid of?" "I'm just saying. It's not like you'll really get sick. Don't be so afraid." Chen Tingfeng coughed and teased. "Ahan, if your sis Zissou has leukemia, are you willing to donate your bone marrow to her?" Ji Yunhan muttered softly, "I don't care if she dies." "Yi Zissou? Are you kidding me? That black-hearted bad woman. It's better if she dies. I can't be bothered with her." Ji Bowen's expression changed. Chen Tingfeng smiled awkwardly. "What if it's a stranger? Will you donate it?" Ji Yunhan glanced at her lazily. "Auntie Chen, in this world, the only people who can make me do anything are my family members who are related to me by blood. As for the others, it depends on my mood. If I'm in a bad mood, why should I help them? I'm not close to them." His tone was lazy and extremely infuriating. Especially the words connected by blood, they were especially grating. Awesome novel, Song Shu 566. Chapter 923. Chen Tingfeng felt a mouthful of blood in her chest. She was so frustrated that she could die. After a while, she squeezed out a few words from between her teeth. "Really? Haha." Ji Bowen's expression became serious. He said slowly, Ahan, your feelings for your family are very good. However, you can't be heartless towards outsiders. If you can help them, help them. Don't act according to your whims. Do you understand? I understand, Dad. I'm just kidding. Ji Yunhan's indifferent attitude made Chen Tingfeng's heart sink. She knew that Ji Yunhan was serious. He would never help someone he did not like. Even if Ji Bowen was suppressing him, he would still not listen. Moreover, would Ji Bowen really help her persuade Ji Yunhan? She was really doubtful. After all, the Ji family and her cousin were not on good terms. The snow-white walls and the faint smell of disinfectant. Chen Tingfeng pushed open the door and saw the young man standing by the window. His dark hair covered his forehead. His bright eyes were filled with melancholy. His face was as pale as snow. When he saw her, the melancholy in his eyes was immediately replaced by a smile. "Aunt, you're here." Chen Tingfeng shook the bag in her hand and smiled. "I brought you a game console today. You won't be so bored anymore." Lu Tianhao cheered. "Yay, that's great. I used to want to play games, but Mom wouldn't allow it. She said that it would affect my studies. Now I don't have to worry. I can play games to my heart's content." On his handsome face, there was a bright smile on his face. Chen Tingfeng felt her heart ache when she saw that he was pretending to be cheerful. Lil Hao was still a child. How could he not be afraid when faced with the threat of death? In order not to worry the adults, he would only show his negative emotions when he was alone. The room was very quiet. Only the sound of the game console could be heard. Wu Shuyi looked at her son sympathetically. She quietly walked to Chen Tingfeng's side and pulled her out of the ward to the end of the corridor. "Tingfeng, how's the discussion about the bone marrow donation going? Did Ji Yunhan agree?" Chen Tingfeng said awkwardly, "Cousin-in-law, I tried to sound out Ji Yunhan's opinion. He's not very willing." "Then what should we do? Otherwise, I'll go to Ji Bowen and ask him to persuade his son." Wu Shuyi's eyes are red. Now Ji Yunhan is her life-saving straw. She must grab him. "Cousin-in-law, to be honest, even if you beg Ji Bowen, I'm afraid that he won't agree. After all, we have a grudge against him before." Chen Tingfeng gritted her teeth and made up her mind. She said resolutely, "Cousin-in-law, don't worry. I'll handle it well." Wu Shuyi grabbed her wrist tightly and asked anxiously, "How are you going to solve it? Could it really be solved? Little Hao doesn't have much time left. We have to perform the surgery as soon as possible." Chen Tingfeng hesitated for a moment, then leaned over to her ear and whispered a few words. Wu Shuyi was shocked. "Isn't that a bad idea? Why don't we talk to them? What if they agree? What if they don't agree? Won't we alert them? We won't have any chance at all? I've already consulted the doctor. Donating bone marrow won't harm the donor. Moreover, the process is relatively simple. As long as we do it cleanly, no one will notice. But I'm still worried. I feel that it's a little too much." Chen Tingfeng looked in the direction of the ward and said faintly, "Cousin-in-law, compared to Little Hao's life, what's the big deal?" In the end, Wu Shuyi was moved by her words and agreed with her idea. However, she was still worried. Therefore, when she saw Lu Jianfeng that night, she told him about Chen Tingfeng's plan. In the end, she said uneasily, "Jianfeng, are we really going to do this?" Lu Jianfeng frowned and remained silent. He had considered asking Ji Bowen for help. However, he was a person who had been in a high position for a long time and had developed a sense of arrogance. It was really difficult for him to lower his voice and beg Ji Bowen. Moreover, he had threatened Ji Bowen before. If he were to ask him for help now, he would definitely make things difficult for him or even reject him. He massaged his temples and said slowly, "Tingfeng has a point. If Ji Bowen doesn't agree, we'll alert them again. It'll be very difficult to carry out our plan in secret." This meant that he agreed with Chen Tingfeng's idea. Wu Shuyi didn't know why, but she felt relieved. She also comforted herself. Anyway, Ji Yunhan's body wouldn't be harmed, so she shouldn't worry about it. After class, Ji Yunhan was about to go to the cafeteria for lunch with his classmates when his phone suddenly rang. It was an unfamiliar number. He pressed the answer button and a middle-aged man's deep voice came from the other end of the line. "Hello, is this Ji Yunhan?" "Yes, I am. Who is this?" I'm Dr. Zhang from Second Hospital. Have you received the medical examination report that was sent to your house last time? Yes, I have. Is there a problem? Ji Yunhan looked up and gestured to his classmates who were urging him to wait. It's like this. We accidentally mixed up your blood sample with that of another examiner. Please come to the hospital today and have it rechecked. Ji Yunhan frowned. How could this be? You guys are too reckless. Dr. Zhang apologized again in a good-natured manner. Ji Yunhan had no choice but to say reluctantly, I still have class today. How about tomorrow? All right then. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning in room 304 of Building 1. Please look for Dr. Zhang when you arrive. Ji Yunhan was speechless. What kind of lousy hospital was this? How could they mix up a blood sample? He shook his head and temporarily put the matter to the back of his mind. Then, he moved closer to his deskmate, patted him on the shoulder with a smile, and went to have lunch with him. The next day was Saturday. Ji Yunhan was about to leave after lunch when Ji Yuqi stopped him and asked casually, Han, are you going out? Where are you going? Ji Yunhan had a bitter expression on his face. I'm so unlucky. There's nothing wrong with your medical reports. Only mine. They said there was a mistake with the blood sample. They want me to do a blood test again. I'm going to that hospital now. Ji Yuqi had already made an appointment with Lin Yushi to play golf. When she heard his words, she did not take it to heart. She smiled and waved her hand. It's your fault for being so unlucky. Hurry up and go. Come back early in the afternoon. I'll personally make soup for you to replenish the blood you've lost. Okay, I'll go first. Bye, sis. Ji Yunhan ran off like the wind. Ji Yuqi shook her head in amusement. She looked at the time and saw that it was already late. She quickly finished her breakfast and left in a hurry. Ji Yunhan found the examination room according to the address given by Dr. Zhang. A man wearing a mask and a white coat nodded at him. Then let's start now. The man first measured his blood pressure and then wanted to draw his blood. He curled his lips helplessly and rolled up his sleeves. He muttered, Don't make a mistake this time. Although I'm a man and am not afraid of pain, drawing so much blood makes me dizzy. Don't worry, we won't make a mistake this time. The doctor comforted him with a few words and inserted a long needle into his blood vessel. He took out a large tube full of blood. He looked at the dark red blood in the syringe and felt his scalp go numb. Come, drink some sugar water and rest. A young nurse handed him a glass of water. He said, Thank you, and took it. After drinking it, he felt that it was a little bitter. Maybe it's because there's too much sugar. It's so sweet that it's bitter, he thought. He put the glass on the table and wanted to stand up. Suddenly, he felt dizzy and his vision turned black. He quickly held onto the back of the chair and vaguely heard someone say, Don't move. Rest for a while. You're scared of blood. His lips moved twice. He wanted to speak, but his voice seemed to be stuck in his throat. No matter how hard he tried, he could not speak. His eyelids were swollen and he slowly closed his eyes. With a thump, he fell onto the chair. Ji Yunhan slowly opened his eyes. The dazzling light pierced his eyes, causing them to ache. He reflexively closed them, then slowly opened them again. The nurse's gentle voice entered his ears. Ah, you're awake. You suddenly fainted. You gave us a fright. He turned his head and looked at the nurse standing at the head of the bed. I fainted? He asked in a daze. The nurse's eyes curved. Yes, you fainted. You've been asleep for 2 hours. Are you okay? Do you want me to inform your family? I'm fine. There's no need to inform my family. Ji Yunhan felt numb all over. It was as if he had been electrocuted. There was also a sharp pain in the back of his buttocks. He sat up with his hand on his forehead and slowly got off the bed. When he stood on the ground, he felt a sharp pain in his buttocks. He must have accidentally pulled something. Strange. He did not get an injection. Why does his buttocks hurt? He looked at the nurse in confusion. Did you do anything to me after I fainted? The nurse blinked quickly. We just carried you to the bed. What's wrong? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Ji Yunhan's cheeks reddened. He could not say that his buttocks hurt in front of a girl. Perhaps he had slept for too long and hurt his buttocks. He shook his head. I'm fine. When can I receive the blood test report? We'll mail it to your house in 3 days. Okay, thank you. Goodbye. He took out his phone from his trouser pocket as he walked to the door. When he saw that it was a call from his sister, he quickly dialed her number. Sis, you were looking for me just now. What's up? When she received his call, Ji Yuqi's car was parked in the hospital's parking lot. She opened the door and got out of the car. Ahan, I happened to be around the hospital, so I picked you up to go home. Are you done with your checkup? I'm done. I'm going down now. That's good. I'll wait for you in the hospital garden. Come down quickly. Ji Yuqi hung up the phone and strolled around the hospital garden. 2 beautiful nurses carrying folders walked over, laughing and chatting. One of the nurses wearing glasses whispered, You don't know yet, right? The leader with the surname Liu has transferred his son to our hospital. You're talking about Liu Jianfeng? Oh my god, what illness does his son have? Why haven't I heard about it in the news? Are you dumb? Who is Liu Jianfeng? He definitely has to keep it a secret. How could he let the media know about his son's illness? But then again, his son is really lucky. He has acute leukemia. When he was transferred to our hospital, a volunteer was willing to donate his bone marrow. I heard that the bone marrow transplant operation will be carried out today. TSK. That volunteer, don't tell me he's aiming for their power. As long as he donates his bone marrow, he'll be the benefactor of the Liu family. Won't he be related to the Liu family in the future? Don't talk nonsense. That volunteer has a powerful background too. The nurse wearing glasses leaned over and whispered a few words in her companion's ear. Her companion immediately screamed. What? The donor is from the Ji family? Shoo, lower your voice. Are you trying to kill me? This is a secret. You can't tell anyone. Remember, don't tell anyone. I know. Don't worry. I'm very tight-lipped. The voices of the 2 nurses gradually faded away. Ji Yuqi flashed out from behind the tree. Her face was extremely gloomy. Different images kept appearing in her mind. Ahan, if your sister Zissou has leukemia, are you willing to donate your bone marrow to her? What if it's a stranger? Will you donate? I'm so unlucky. Your medical reports are all fine except mine. They said that the blood sample was wrong and asked me to do a blood test again. What? The donor is from the Ji family? Several voices echoed in her ears, and different scenes lingered in her mind. Ji Yuqi's expression became more and more unsightly, and the light of hatred burst forth from her pitch-black eyes. She clenched her fists tightly, and a cold aura emanated from her body, causing those who approached her to shiver uncontrollably. When Ji Yunhan found her, he was frightened by her vicious gaze. He quickened his pace and walked in front of her. Concerned, he asked, Sister, what's wrong? Are you okay? Ji Yuqi suddenly turned to look at him. Her eyes were incomparably complicated. There was regret, annoyance, and fear. He touched his nose inexplicably. Sister, what's wrong with you? Did my future brother-in-law make you angry? She suddenly hugged him. Her arms tightly clasped on his back. Her voice was mixed with pain. I'm sorry, Ahan. I was too careless. Sister. She didn't say anything. After a long time, she slowly let go of him. She stared into his eyes with a serious expression. Ahan, did anything strange happen during your checkup? Ji Yunhan scratched his head and smiled. Yes, I seem to have a phobia of blood. At that time, the nurse Miss handed me a cup of sugar water. I didn't expect that after drinking it, I still fainted. According to her, I lay down for more than 2 hours. Sugar water? Fainted? Ji Yuqi's gaze turned cold. She said in a deep voice, Other than that, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? At Xinwu 799. Chapter 924. Cough, cough. Above my butt, below my lower back, it hurts a little. Ji Yunhan did not want to talk about such a shameful place, but when he saw his sister's serious expression, he unknowingly told the truth. Ji Yuqi had once watched a television program that explained the knowledge of bone marrow transplants. She knew that the location of the bone marrow extraction was where Han felt the pain in his ilium. Chen Tingfeng, Lu Jianfeng, those two bastards. How dare they treat Han like this? They used such a despicable method to drug Han and steal his bone marrow. If Lu Tianhao did not need bone marrow, but a liver, a kidney, or a heart, would those two bastards also remove Han's internal organs without hesitation? Ji Yuqi exploded like a volcano. She clenched her fists and roared, "Damn it, Chen Tingfeng, Lu Jianfeng, they went too far." "Sister, what are you talking about?" Ji Yunhan was confused. She suddenly grabbed his hand and dragged him to the hospital. She said angrily, "Come with me." "Which doctor did the examination for you? Tell me." "Hey, sister, don't drag me. I'll walk by myself." "What's going on? You have to tell me clearly." Ji Yuqi did not answer. She clenched her teeth tightly. She was afraid that if she opened her mouth, she would not be able to resist cursing those two bastards. She dragged her brother all the way until they entered the elevator. Only then did she manage to suppress her anger. She faced her brother and told him her suspicions. "Han, Lu Jianfeng's son has acute leukemia and needs a bone marrow transplant. I suspect that your bone marrow matches his. And just today, your bone marrow was extracted." Ji Yunhan was shocked. He widened his eyes in disbelief. "How did you know?" Ji Yuqi clenched her fists and told him her deduction concisely and quickly. She said, "Although it's just my speculation, it's very likely to be true. Later, I'll verify it with the doctor who extracted your blood." "The examination room." "Yes, Madam Chen. I've taken care of it. Don't worry, I'll keep it a secret." Dr. Zhang stood facing the window and spoke to the person on the other end of the phone. Suddenly, with a bang sound, the door was pushed open heavily. He turned his head in surprise and saw the two people walking in through the door. His expression changed immediately, and he quickly said to the person on the other end of the phone, "I have an accident here. I'll hang up first." Dr. Zhang glanced guiltily at the expressionless Ji Yunhan before shifting his gaze to the equally expressionless Ji Yuqi. He gripped his phone tightly and tried to maintain a calm smile on his face. "Is there anything I can help you with? You're the Dr. Zhang who drew my brother's blood, right? I have a question for you." Ji Yuqi coldly stared into his eyes, as if she wanted to see through his eyes and see through his internal organs. Dr. Zhang broke out in cold sweat. "I don't dare to ask." "What's the question, Miss Ji? Please ask." Ji Yuqi looked at him coldly and said sternly, "Let me ask you, who gave you permission to extract my brother's bone marrow without permission? Who gave you the right to do so?" Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, but his expression was calm. "Miss Ji, what do you mean by that? I've never extracted your brother's bone marrow." Ji Yuqi said sternly, "Good, very good. It doesn't matter if you don't admit it. My brother's iliac bone must still have a needle hole. We can find evidence of your crime through an X-ray examination." Then, she turned to Ji Yunhan. "Han, let's do the examination now. I want those who stole your bone marrow without your permission to pay the price." "Miss Ji, please wait." Dr. Zhang rushed forward and blocked their way. He said anxiously and painfully, "I admit that I did extract Ji Yunhan's bone marrow, but Madam Chen told me that Ji Yunhan agreed to donate his bone marrow, so I..." Ji Yuqi said sternly, "Did Chen Tingfeng really say that?" Dr. Zhang quickly explained, "Yes, she said that Ji Yunhan agreed to donate his bone marrow, but Mr. Ji Bowen didn't know about it. Therefore, she wanted me to collect the bone marrow this way to prevent Mr. Ji Bowen from finding out. Don't you know that Han is only 17 years old? He's still a minor. Even if he made the decision to donate, he would need his guardian's approval. How dare you say that you want to hide it from my father? What kind of doctor are you? It's a disgrace that your hospital has a doctor who doesn't care about professional ethics like you." Ji Yuqi was truly furious. She glared fiercely at him, each question louder than the last, making him unable to show his face. His face alternated between red and white, and he opened his mouth, unable to say a single word for a long time. She snorted and mocked. "Chen Tingfeng must have given you a lot of benefits. Also, our dear and respectable leader Lu Jianfeng must have given you benefits too. Am I right, Zheng? Doctor. Give birth." The heavy emphasis on the word doctor was like a heavy hammer that hammered Dr. Zheng's conscience. He had indeed received a lot of benefits, but the benefits had blinded him and made him forget his duty to save lives and heal the wounded. He hung his head in guilt. I'm sorry, Miss G. Young Master G. I know I'm wrong. Please give me another chance. This job is really important to me. If news of him stealing the bone marrow spread, he would definitely be kicked out of the hospital. His reputation would be tainted and no other hospital would hire him. Ji Yuqi's eyes darkened. She slowly raised the corners of her lips and smiled brightly. Okay, I agree to let you go, but you have to promise me one thing. Dr. Zhang hurriedly said, Okay, I'll agree even if it's 100 times. Ji Yuqi snorted. I don't need 100. My condition is simple. Don't tell Chen Tingfang and Lu Jianfeng what we know. Just tell them that everything went smoothly and no one found out about you stealing the bone marrow. Okay, I understand. I'll do as you say. On the way home, the atmosphere was heavy. Ji Yuqi held the steering wheel tightly with both hands and looked straight ahead. Her face was dark and she did not say a word. Ji Yunhan carefully peeked at her a few times. Seeing her sullen expression, he laughed dryly. Sis, are you still angry? Don't be angry. It's just a little bit of bone marrow. It won't do any harm to my body. Let them have it. Shut up. Ji Yuqi turned around and glared at him fiercely. Just bone marrow? I think you're lucky. What if they wanted your liver, kidney, or heart? Would you let them cut you up? The more she spoke, the angrier she became. She raised her arm and slapped him hard on the head. Be more careful next time. Don't just drink everything that people give you. I know, sis. You're so fierce. My butt still hurts. He covered his head pitifully like a harmless little bunny. Ji Yuqi's heart ached when she thought about how his bone marrow had been inexplicably extracted. However, she was stubborn and refused to put down her pride to comfort him. She continued to lecture him with a straight face. Now you know it hurts. Let's see if you still drink anything in the future. Sis! He cried with tears in his eyes. Her heart almost broke. She couldn't help but reach out and rub his head. Her voice became gentle. All right, it doesn't hurt anymore. This time, I'm also at fault. I should have noticed the abnormality earlier. Ahan, don't worry. I'll get justice for you. If Lu Jianfeng told her honestly that Lu Tianhao was sick and needed Ahan to donate his bone marrow, she wouldn't refuse. She believed that Ahan wouldn't refuse either. After all, the conflict between the Ji family and Lu Jianfeng shouldn't involve Lu Tianhao. However, Lu Jianfeng shamelessly used underhanded means to steal Ahan's bone marrow. This was unacceptable to her. She wouldn't allow her brother to be bullied like this. Outside the operating room, Lu Jianfeng, Wu Shuyi, and other relatives were waiting anxiously. Lu Tianhao had been in the operating room for more than 4 hours. They didn't know what was going on inside. To them, every minute was torture. They're out. The doctor is out. Lu Jianfeng rushed to the doctor first. Doctor, how's my son? Don't worry. The patient's surgery was very successful. He just had surgery and his immune system is weak. He doesn't want too many people to visit him at once. Lu Jianfeng's eyes reddened. He nodded heavily. Thank you. In the ward, Lu Jianfeng and his wife saw their son who had just had surgery. He was lying among a pile of instruments. There was an 4 drip on the back of his hand. His face was pale and he hadn't woken up yet. Wu Shuyi leaned into her husband's arms and couldn't help but cry. Lu Jianfeng hugged her shoulder and whispered, Don't be sad. Little Hao will get better soon. Chen Tingfang, who had been waiting anxiously at home, heard that the surgery was a success. She locked herself in the room and danced with joy. On the other hand, Ji Yuqi got a piece of information from Liang Yu. The little girl that Lu Jianfeng brought to the hospital that day was called Wang Yingying. Her mother, Wang Menghan, was a teacher at Chenxi Kindergarten. It was said that she used to live in Hanqing and had just moved to Ying City. When Ji Yuqi saw Wang Menghan's photo, her eyes narrowed. She couldn't believe what she saw. The woman carrying the child in the photo looked very similar to Chen Tingfang. Something flashed through her mind. She asked hurriedly, Liang Yu, what's the relationship between Wang Menghan and Lu Jianfeng? Liang Yu was silent for 2 seconds and said, Actually, I've been secretly monitoring Wang Menghan and Lu Jianfeng. I found out that the two of them have only met once. It was when Lu Jianfeng sent Wang Yingying to Wang Menghan's place. Moreover, Lu Jianfeng stayed at her place for less than 10 minutes. The two of them seemed to be just ordinary friends. Ji Yuqi's gaze turned cold. She stared at the photo in her hand. She didn't believe that Lu Jianfeng and Wang Menghan's relationship wasn't that simple. Just the fact that Wang Menghan looked so similar to Chen Tingfang was very suspicious. Ad. Hongcha 866. Chapter 925. She kept thinking back to the times when Lu Jianfeng and Chen Tingfang interacted. She realized that whether it was in her previous life or this life, Lu Jianfeng was infinitely tolerant and caring towards Chen Tingfang. Sometimes, his care and concern even made people feel that it was a bit excessive. Between the two of them, was it really just a pure relationship of cousins? Perhaps it was because she had seen too much of the filth of the world. But Ji Yuqi's thoughts were no longer that of a young lady who didn't know the ways of the world. Just by looking at some clues, she could associate some evil things with it. She thought for a moment and said in a low voice, "Liang Yu, I want you to do me a favor. Continue to keep an eye on Lu Jianfeng and Wang Mengyao, and..." She lowered her voice and made an outrageous request. "Help me get Wang Mengyao's hair." "Okay, no problem." After Lu Tianhao's operation, there were no signs of rejection. He recovered well. Lu Jianfeng was relieved and began to put his energy into work. He was busy every day and often went to the countryside or remote places to inspect the work. He could not go home on time. Sometimes, he would only go home once every 2 or 3 days. However, he would call Wu Shuyi every day to ask about his son's condition. Wu Shuyi had been used to it. She had to be prepared to be alone when she married a powerful husband. In order to take care of her son, she quit her original job and stayed in the hospital almost every day to accompany her son. One day, Wu Shuyi was carrying the chicken soup she made and was about to send it to the hospital. The phone in her pocket suddenly vibrated. She opened it and saw a message from an unknown number. "Do you want to know what your husband is busy with every day? Go to this address and you will find the answer." Wu Shuyi shook her head in amusement. She just thought that someone was playing a prank. She put the phone in her pocket and ignored it. About 5 minutes later, the phone vibrated again. It was a message from the same number. "Why are you scared? Poor woman who has been kept in the dark." She quickly replied, "Please don't play any more pranks on me. I'll be angry." "Haha, pranks? You are deceiving yourself." Wu Shuyi's fingers trembled. She quickly replied, "Who are you? What is your purpose?" After sending the message, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. She waited for a long time, but did not receive a reply. Because of these inexplicable text messages, her originally good mood became gloomy. She carried the soup and walked into her son's ward. She barely managed to pull herself together, but her mind couldn't help but wander. Jian Feng was busy with work. She should believe him. However, that mysterious person's resolute and decisive words kept echoing in her ears. "Let's go and have a look. It's just a trip to prove that the mysterious man is playing a prank. Yes, he must be playing a prank." After a mental struggle, curiosity finally won out. Wu Shuyi told her son a few words and asked the nurse to take good care of him. Then she hurried out of the hospital and drove to the place mentioned by the mysterious man. This was a newly opened amusement park in Ying City. It had a complete set of gaming facilities. Wearing a hat and brown sunglasses, Wu Shuyi walked past a group of children and followed the address to a cold drink shop in the amusement park. Through the huge glass window, she saw Lu Jianfeng sitting by the window. Even if he was wearing sunglasses, as his wife, how could she not recognize him? Opposite him sat a young woman and a 7 or 8-year-old girl. When Wu Shuyi carefully looked at the young woman, she was so shocked that she almost screamed. She covered her mouth tightly and stared at the woman. She actually looked like Chen Tingfang. In the cold drink shop, Wang Yingying took 2 sips of fresh orange juice. Her big round eyes looked curiously at Lu Jianfeng. She said in a childish voice, "Uncle, why are you still wearing sunglasses? There's no sun here." Lu Jianfeng wore sunglasses because he didn't want others to find out his identity. Of course, He couldn't explain this to a child. So he smiled and said, "Uncle, don't you look handsome wearing sunglasses?" "Yes." "Then Uncle will always wear them to make himself look more handsome." "Oh, so that's how it is." Wang Yingying nodded as if she understood. Then she pouted and muttered, "But this way, I won't be able to see Uncle's face clearly. It's such a pity." Wang Menghan rubbed her daughter's hair and gently smiled. "Even if you can't see Uncle's face clearly, Yingying can touch Uncle and let Uncle hug you. This is already very good." Wang Yingying smiled and nodded heavily. "And that's right. Uncle played with me the whole day today. I'm so happy." Lu Jianfeng was amused by her cute appearance. He reached out and rubbed her soft hair. Inadvertently, his hand touched Wang Menghan's hand. He didn't withdraw his hand but took the opportunity to hold her hand. Wang Menghan glanced at him embarrassedly and said softly, "Don't be like this. Be careful not to be seen by others." His voice was low and magnetic. "It's okay. Today belongs to the three of us." The sunglasses covered his eyes, but it couldn't block his burning gaze. She felt that her body was about to melt under his burning gaze. She bit her lip and shyly returned his hand. Outside the cold drink shop, Wuxia hid behind a pillar. Her eyes were fixed on the two hands that were clasped together. Her body was trembling and her mind was blank. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. She didn't know why this was happening and she didn't know what she should do. She and Lu Jianfeng were university classmates. Ever since she fell in love with him, she had been chasing after him. She thought that one day, she would be able to wait for him. She waited until she was 30 years old. She waited until she was young. When she thought that she would never be able to touch him for the rest of her life, he suddenly found her and said, "Let's get married. I'll treat you well." At that moment, she really felt that the whole world was bright. She was overjoyed. She was looking forward to a new life and happily married him. Then, she would take care of her husband and their son and wholeheartedly be the woman behind him. He fulfilled his promise. Although their married life couldn't be considered sweet, he respected her and loved their son very much. She thought that they would be able to grow old together, but now, she actually found out that he was having an affair. Her heart hurt so much, as if it was being cut by a knife. Her tears were like beads of a broken string, falling down from the corners of her eyes. She looked at the cold drink shop and saw her husband being gentle and considerate to another woman. She saw that they were like a family of three, smiling happily. Her heart hurt so much that she almost couldn't breathe. Their son was still lying in the hospital, but he was hugging that little girl and laughing happily. Stumbling all the way back to the car, Wu Shui's tears didn't stop. In the enclosed space, she couldn't control herself anymore. She covered her mouth and wailed loudly. She didn't know how long she cried, but her eyes were already swollen and difficult to open. Looking at her sorry figure in the mirror, her hair had already turned white, and she was even more sorrowful. She was almost 50 years old. Other than loving Lu Jianfeng without reservation, she seemed to have never done anything she wanted to do. For her husband, child and family, she gave up herself, but in the end, what she got was her husband's betrayal. When she was supporting his parents, he was rolling in the sheets with another woman. When she comforted her disappointed son by saying, "Daddy is busy," he was outside with another mother and daughter. When she couldn't sleep alone many times, when she envied other couples who were in pairs, when she was sick and needed his care, he wasn't by her side. She thought that he was busy, tried her best to be tolerant, and never made a fuss. However, the cruel reality shattered all her fantasies. The despair in her heart was like a wild vine, wrapping around her in despair. Time passed by minute. Unknowingly, the sky outside the window started to darken. She took out her phone and dialed that familiar number. "What's the matter?" The man's low voice entered her ears. She could vaguely hear a child's laughter. Her lips trembled a few times. After a few seconds of silence she said softly, "Jianfeng, have you ever loved me? We're already an old married couple. Why are you asking such a question? Is Xiaohao okay?" He sounded a little impatient. Her lips twitched, and her eyes were filled with desolation. "Okay, Xiaohao is very good. Can you come back tonight? I have something to talk to you about." "I still have something to do. I can't go back tonight. I'll go back tomorrow." He didn't wait for her answer and said, "Is there anything else? If not, I'll hang up first." Nothing. Beep, beep, beep. The sky was getting darker and darker. Bright lights decorated the city. A woman in a long dress with disheveled hair walked alone by the riverbank. She had been wandering around the riverbank for more than an hour. She was like a walking corpse, without any thoughts. She was just walking mechanically and aimlessly. A car was parked not far from her. Ji Yuqi sat in the driver's seat, holding a pair of binoculars and staring from afar. She had sent that text message to let Wu Shuyi know about Lu Jianfeng's affair. She didn't want to force Wu Shuyi into a dead end. Therefore, she had been following behind Wu Shuyi to prevent her from taking her own life. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, Wu Shuyi finally left the riverbank and returned to the car. After she started the car, Ji Yuqi quickly followed. Wu Shuyi drove to the hospital to visit her son. Just as she opened the door to the ward, her son immediately looked up and said unhappily, "Mom, where did you go this afternoon? I called your phone, but it was turned off. I was so worried about you." She walked to his side, hugged him with both hands, and said softly, "Xiaohao, don't worry. Mom will be fine. Even if it's for you, Mom will be fine." "Mom, you're so strange today. Are you hiding something from me?" Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 926. Lu Tianhao was very sensitive. He raised his head and stared at her face, trying to find clues from her face. Wu Shuyi smiled and rubbed his head. "What can I hide from you? I'm just a little tired. Are you feeling unwell today?" "I'm fine, Mom. Since you're not feeling well, you should go home and rest. There are nurses taking care of me in the hospital. You don't have to worry." "Okay." She caressed her son's cheek. Her son and her husband looked alike. Looking at him was like looking at her husband when he was young. Her heart, which was numb from the pain, twitched again. "At night. Who are you? What's your purpose for letting me see that?" Ji Yuqi came out of the bathroom and saw a message on her disposable SIM card. It was from Wu Shuyi. She smiled, picked up the phone, and replied, "I'm someone close to you. I just feel sorry for you, so I let you find out the truth." "I don't believe you're so kind. Tell me what you're trying to do." Ji Yuqi did not follow her train of thought. Instead, she changed the topic. "Aren't you curious about the little girl's background?" The person on the other side of the phone was silent for a long time. It was so long that Ji Yuqi almost fell asleep. Suddenly, she heard the sound of a message and woke her up. That child. Is she really his illegitimate daughter? Seeing the message, Ji Yuqi sighed. Liang Yu took Wang Yingying's hair and compared her DNA with Lu Tianhao's. The results showed that they were close relatives and that they had the same father. She guessed that Lu Jianfeng brought Wang Yingying to the hospital to match her bone marrow with Lu Tianhao's. Unfortunately, the match was not successful. That was why Lu Jianfeng chose to trick Han. Ji Yuqi's fingers slid and replied slowly, "Yes, he had an affair behind your back for 10 years. 10 years. 10 years was enough for a person to fall in love with another person. It was also enough for a person to age." Wu Shuyi's love for Lu Jianfeng and her child was condensed in each of her white hairs. However, the truth was always so cruel. Even if you spent your whole life, you could not warm a man's heart. Ji Yuqi could imagine her despair at this moment. It was just like how she felt when she fell off the cliff in her previous life. She was in so much pain that she wished she was dead. However, only by crossing that hurdle could she be reborn. "So, Wu Shuyi, do your best. Your child is still waiting for you." The text message did not ring for a long time. Ji Yuqi lay in bed, tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep. She thought for a while and sent another text to Wu Shuyi. "You've given him more than 20 years of your youth. It's time for you to make plans for yourself and your child. A mother is strong because of her child. I believe you can stand up again." Wu Shuyi stared blankly at the ceiling. Her eyes were dry and painful, and she could no longer shed tears. She thought about many things. She thought about her past, about her love that was like a moth darting into a flame, about her husband's betrayal, and about her child's future. That mysterious person was right. She had to be strong. Even if her heart was riddled with holes, She had to be strong because Lil Hao still needed her protection. She did not sleep the entire night. She looked even more haggard in the mirror. Even the crow's feet at the corners of her eyes seemed to have deepened. She sighed and put on some light makeup to cover the dark circles under her eyes and the pimples that suddenly appeared on her face. Then, she opened her wardrobe and found a long colorful dress that she had not worn in a long time. Finally, she tied up her long hair. At last, she did not look so lifeless. Lu Jianfeng came back. Wu Shuyi's gaze slowly slid across his face and finally landed on him. He had changed his clothes. The clothes he was wearing now were not the ones she bought for him. It seemed that he had stayed over at that woman's place last night. He came home wearing different clothes. This kind of thing had happened before, but she trusted him too much and never suspected it. The corner of her lips stiffened. She lowered her head and said softly, "You're back. Have you had breakfast?" "I've eaten. Last night, you said that you had something to discuss with me. What is it?" Lu Jianfeng took off his coat and casually hung it on the hanger. Her nails dug into her palms. Yesterday, she was too agitated and wanted to talk to him about the divorce. However, after a night of consideration, she changed her mind. She slowly raised her head and looked at him with a calm gaze. She said indifferently, "I want to open a flower shop. What do you think?" "Open a flower shop?" Lu Jianfeng sat on the sofa and tapped his fingers on the armrest. His brows were slightly furrowed. "Why did you suddenly have this idea?" Wu Shuyi sat across from him and poured a cup of tea in front of him. She said indifferently, "Lil Hao's health is getting better and will recover soon. I will also have more free time. It's not a good idea to do nothing at home every day. So, I want to open a flower shop. It's not important whether I make money or not. I just want to have something to do." Lu Jianfeng's brows furrowed even tighter. "If news of you opening a flower shop gets out, where will my face go? If you feel bored, you can go shopping with the ladies in the courtyard and do some beauty treatments. Isn't that good? Beauty treatments? Heh." When she was 20 years old, he wouldn't even look at her. Now that she was in her 40s, even if she dressed herself up like a fairy, he wouldn't care. Wu Shuyi didn't want to waste time on those boring things. She smiled slightly. "When we got married, you said that you would respect my opinion. Right now, I only have one idea, and that is to open a flower shop. Can't you respect my opinion for once? I don't interact with the ladies of the officials. They don't know me, so you don't have to worry about me embarrassing you in front of your subordinates." She rarely spoke to him in such a tone. Lu Jianfeng suddenly felt that he didn't know her. He thought for a moment and said in a deep voice, "If you insist on opening a flower shop, then I won't stop you. You have to take care of your family and Lil Hao. Don't neglect them because of work." She was still smiling. "I won't. After all, I'm not Mayor Lu. I'm not that busy." Lu Jianfeng was stung by her words and felt a little uncomfortable. He said with a cold face, "I'm busy with work. I thought you would understand." "I understand very well." She stood up and looked at him condescendingly. She said lightly, "I'm going to the hospital to accompany Lil Hao. If you're free, you should go and see him. He asked about you yesterday." She felt that she owed her only son. Lu Jianfeng stood up as well. "I'll go with you." Lu Tianhao was very happy to see his parents appear at the same time. Wu Shuyi saw the bright smile on his face and felt sad. She secretly made up her mind that no matter what happened between her and Lu Jianfeng, she would protect her son. Cousin-in-law, you're all here." Chen Tingfang walked into the ward with fruits and supplements in her hands. Lu Jianfeng saw her and a warm smile appeared in his deep eyes. Wu Shuyi felt as if she had swallowed a fly. She was not a fool. Her husband's lover looked so much like Chen Tingfang. Of course she could guess the reason. Since she met her husband in university, she had never seen him in a relationship with another girl. After he started working, he was even more busy with work and had never been involved in any scandals. She thought that he was ambitious and would not talk about relationships. In the end, she did not expect that he already had someone in his heart. That person was his biological cousin. Taboo, incest. Such a relationship was disgusting. Wu Shuyi pressed her right hand on her stomach and forced a smile. "Tingfang is here." After Chen Tingfang greeted Lu Jianfeng and his wife, Her eyes fell on Lu Tianhao. She smiled and said, "Little Hao, you look so good today. Are you too happy to see Mom, Dad, and Auntie?" "Yes, Auntie. The game console you gave me is so fun. What good things did you bring for me today? You little brat, you really don't hold back. But fortunately, I came prepared. Dang dang dang. Look at what this is. It's the latest iPhone. There are many fun games downloaded in it. I'm so touched. Auntie, you are so good to me." Seeing that his son was getting along well with Chen Tingfang, Lu Jianfeng's smile deepened. He patted his son's shoulder, indicating that he should not be too naughty. Wu Shuyi felt even more uncomfortable. She took the fruit plate and said that she was going to wash the fruits. She hurriedly left the strange scene. In the following days, Wu Shuyi's attitude towards Chen Tingfang slowly changed. She was not as intimate as before, only polite and distant. However, no one except herself noticed. With her efforts, the flower shop opened for business. She recruited 2 young girls to manage the flower shop, and she became the boss behind the scenes. With the flower shop on the right track, she gradually focused all her attention on her career and her son. As for her husband, he was just a decoration. She did not care what he did, as long as he did not make a scene in front of her. Ji Yuqi secretly observed for a long time. Seeing that Wu Shuyi had walked out of the pain of her husband's affair, she decided to start the second step of her plan. She laid on Shenzhe's chest, fiddling with a large stack of photos in her hand. She planned to pick out a few to send to Lu Jianfeng's mistress, Wang Menghan. Shenzhe put the report in his hand on the coffee table, pinched her nose, and chuckled. "Why do you have to go through so much trouble? Just send the photos to the TV station and let Lu Jianfeng lose face in front of the whole city. Isn't that good?" Ji Yuqi pretended to be mature and sighed. "Although I hate scumbags and mistresses and really want to teach them a lesson, the first wife is innocent after all. Before Wu Shuyi is mentally prepared, if we rashly spread the news of Lu Jianfeng's infidelity to the whole city, what if she can't figure it out and walks into a dead end? Although I've waited for a long time and wasted a lot of time, I think it's worth it. At the very least, there was one less pitiful wife in the world who was heartbroken because of her husband's affair." "My Chi-Chi, you're so kind." Shenzhe bent down and kissed her hair. She found it funny. "I'm not kind, not at all, because I'm about to deal with scumbags and mistresses." Awesome novel, Songshu 566. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.